Is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan, an Odyssey sports station.
Get the snap back. 21 seconds. Seam picked off. Elijah Herring. Ball comes out. Ball is bouncing at the 35. And who fell on it?
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Are you prepared to replace him with Michael Penix?
You know, we got everybody in our roster for a reason, right? We got so much to get better at, and those things will always be discussed. That's just the nature of the beast in football. It's just so heavily talked about it at the quarterback position because there's only one guy out there.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Throws it to Kenrich Williams, who gets rejected by Giannis. Connaughton with the ball, gets it to Giannis, crossing the timeline to Gary Trent Jr. He stops, pops, shoots from three, and gets that one to fall. Buries a three-pointer, Gary Trent Jr. The lead up to 20.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
Hey, happy Wednesday morning, all you beautiful radio listeners. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. Let's check in with the most important man, Jason Swigard. What's going on, man?
How are you?
Well, my computer just stopped working. One of the screens went all dark in here.
Oh, there you go. Well, that happens.
Yeah. Luke Anderson filling in for Dirt and Sprague.
Did you cup check last night? Did you gather the twins around and say, you know what? This is special.
I did not. We've got all.
This is now a new holiday season tradition.
No, and I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been punishment to make them watch that. I mean, what a shooting! Well, I can't even say performance. Shooting failure.
No, if you want to teach them about work ethic, doesn't matter if you're the smartest kid in class. Look at Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's working harder than everybody else out there.
You don't think I'm setting a poor expectation of limited physical gifts may not give you the same outcome as one Giannis Antetokounmpo? How tall is the dude?
6'11".
How long is his wingspan?
7'4".
Yeah. What's his fat to muscle ratio?
You're not looking at all of that. You're looking at how much he cares about the game, the outcome.
That guy is a freaking unicorn, man. Like, give me a break. The amount of talent that guy has been enhanced by the work that he has put in. There is no doubt about that. But no matter how hard I would have worked, and I will admit that I was not the hardest worker in the off season. Pretty good junior varsity athlete in 3 sports. I don't know if anybody can compete with my JV resume, but at 5'10", without speed or a vertical leap, I did pretty well. But had I put in more work, I still would not have been 6'11".
No,
with a 7.5-foot wingspan
it was about work
and the ability to jump over oncoming players.
But
dude, like that guy coming down to block one of your shots.
Oh, I know.
Jeez, that's just a whole lot of no thanks. But we'll definitely get into the cup, because you were very confident in the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you don't really lose anything because it doesn't count.
It doesn't count in the record or whatever. But
that's like the judge that goes into the courthouse and his son was arrested. He's like, I just don't want this on his record. Feels very much.
I'll take care of him.
Let's just make sure this doesn't go on his permanent record.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much like that. I'll have to figure out what's going on with this computer. I was going to gripe about Christmas. I don't know if there's room to do that.
Well,
right before we got started,
we are 1 week out,
and we are not ready.
Oh,
we are. I have Amazon boxes that I have no idea the contents of all over the house.
Ooh. There is one thing that I am, actually 2 things, but one thing for the family that I am waiting for that I actually inquired about.
I
got AI botted back, and I said, no.
You're in an argument with an AI bot?
Well, it said, please wait 7 days since the last tracking scan.
Yeah.
It's been 13 days since the last tracking scan, which is why I'm inquiring. And then I got something back from an actual human that says, yeah, we don't know what happened. We're 2-day airing another one for you. It should be there by Friday. Thank you.
Yeah, we're probably 2 weeks, maybe a month from my wife has a couple part-time jobs that she works for a movie theater and does like operations and stuff, and it's kind of been like trying to keep it as low key as possible.
Yeah.
And then she works for the kids' school. She was volunteering there, and then they had a position open up. So she's doing both. Well, both have kind of ramped up. I mean, the school isn't a lot crazier, but it's winter time, so it's kind of a lot more just going in.
Yes.
She's helping out with that, and all the kids are sick, and it's just
Oh, I know.
they're
Everybody's
disgusting
sick
little
right
moms.
now.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it starts in like the germ
Well, I know
factory.
they're the petri dishes.
So you've got that, and then her other job, kind of unexpectedly, and at the wrong time of the year, because movie theaters are jam-packed right now for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, a lot of the big Oscar movies are getting rolled out.
Oscar movies, Christmas movies,
Yeah.
family movies. There's a lot going on there, plus some things behind the scenes that we don't need to get into have put her workload at
Well, and then you have
10x.
Then you have like the financial people who are trying to wrap up the books for the year.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
So
her,
they're asking for a whole lot of
Yes.
reconciliation
Oh,
reports,
but-
and you're
but-
like, why didn't you ask me about that 6 months ago?
well, you're so much closer to all of the problems than I want to get into.
Yes.
But yes, that plus 100 other. Either way, her workload has gone exponentially increased over the last
And it
month.
all has to be done immediately.
We have twins that are 8 years old. I love that right before we came on
I
the air, you
know.
go, how old are the twins now? 5?
yeah.
No, they are in
They are 8.
prime Christmas
so
age.
Christmas is everything.
I told you already this week we've got this new cat that just keeps breaking ornaments, which, listen, we bought like a $2 box of Walmart glass ornaments in like
Why would you buy glass? The best thing was
just because they were $2. Did you not hear that part of it?
I understand that.
We had either just started dating or
Oh,
it was our
okay.
first Christmas, whatever it was. We bought them 100 years ago. This year will be in May will be 19 years that we've been married.
Oh.
We've had these, I think, longer than that. And so they've just always been on there. So the
Yeah.
fact that the cat's just chucking them off, other than having to sweep them up, we don't really care about that. The other thing is, we always do the lights the exact same way. We've got a very tall townhouse style
There you go.
single family
One-
home.
one
It's not a
vaulted
townhouse,
ceiling.
but it's very vertical.
Yeah.
And it's got the slope front drive. I'm not touching the top peak of the roof. I go, we get a band right across the middle of the house. I put a little bow in the center where they arch together.
Sure.
Last year we did a big kayak present for the whole family, and it had the giant bow on it.
Okay.
So my daughters insisted that the giant bow
Oh.
goes at the center where we have the little bow.
Right. Like the big Lexus.
It's
jack
very,
bow.
it is very much the Lexus bow.
Okay.
But here's what happens. Every single day when I come home, and this morning when I woke up, that bow catches so much wind, it rips the whole thing down, and so then hanging in there. So then I have to get out the ladder, I have to go and pick it up, secure it a little bit more every day. It's like that statue in Home Alone where they're constantly picking it up and putting it up. And then my wife decided to add like one of those little reindeer that plugs in. It's at the end of the light strand, but it can't sit in the lawn, so I can't staple it in. No, it sits on the concrete patio, also blown over by the wind. So here I am just picking that up, looking at the bow, going, I've got to pick this up. I've already swept up an ornament. I have to redo the outside lighting every single day. I'm going to go out there with super glue, so I'm going to have this stupid bow on my
Irregular
house
Clark
year round.
Griswold.
It is, and the thing is, I try to go as simple as I possibly can. So then I get home yesterday, and I've been dealing with all of this stuff for a couple weeks. I was like, new broken ornament, this is that, whatever it is. So I'm like, I'll get home a little bit early yesterday, and I'll just kind of ease my way into the evening. I'll finish up work from home. I'll help out my wife with whatever she needs on her computer things. First thing I hear when I get home, internet's out. Unplug the modem. And the modem's, I know it's my fault, but I don't put it in a convenient spot, so I have to pull out the TV stand. I have to get that out, unplug it, just wait, plug it back
My
in.
modem's
Doesn't
right
work.
on my bar where I
Go-
can find it.
Go on. Well, I know where it is. I just don't have it sitting out because guess what? One of the cats is probably going to eat it. So then I pull out the TV stand. I adjust them. Nothing. So I go on the Xfinity app. Nothing. They're like, oh, try this. Already tried that. Try this. Try that. And they can remote in. And their remote help. When would you like to schedule us an appointment? In the next week. Choose the time and respond with the
Right
corresponding
now.
number.
Where's
So
now? Immediately.
Now is not a thing. Now is not a thing. So I got to meet the cable guy today. After going through, as soon as I get home, I have to clean up all the ornaments so the cable guy can get to the modem and put up the decorations.
The
back
first
up
thing I'll help you
and do
with
that.
is, find homes for the cats. Just don't do cats. I don't know why people do cats. No.
Do you know why people do cats? Because their wife and their 2 adorable 8-year-old daughters beg and beg and beg.
No.
And then the neighbor he could not be a nicer guy. He's like, if you can take and just put one of these cats in a home, I'll pay for the neutering, I'll pay for the whatever, all the shots and all the thing. And he made it so easy. And I think I told you this. Our idea was, our cat's kind of an a-hole. Let's get a new one.
I know.
They can be a-holes to each other. That part has worked, but the kitten literally climbed to the top of the tree and busted off the topper.
Not doing cats.
I get you. I'm with you. I never wanted to do
I
cats.
don't mess around with the litter box.
The original agreement.
Smell, nothing.
My wife had been trying to talk me into cats for a decade. And I go, I don't want a cat.
No.
And so what she says is, she would go, well, what if I'm pregnant and you're not home and I need somebody, I need a little companionship. I need a little cuddle. I need a little, I go, tell you what, when we get pregnant, you can get a cat. Which I probably said after, 8 drinks in 2010. And then in 2016, when we get pregnant, she's like, so here's the ultrasound photo. And then my friend has a cat. We'll have it in 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, can't argue with that. She's gestating my children. And multiple children. I'm like, I'm supposed to tell her no cat? So we get the cat. I made it 8 years without getting another one. Then the kids, and their stupid little doe eyes. Can we please?
No.
Well,
no cats.
Hey, well, you're stronger man than I. You ever have a daughter?
No.
Yeah. Try to tell one of those no. Tell her 2 of those no.
And
And then your wife gives you the same stupid eyes.
That was the biggest reason I was so thrilled to have a son.
Yeah.
Because I knew me.
Yeah.
No way I'm telling daughter no.
Yeah.
And I like to say no.
Well, the good news is my monitor seems
there you go. It came back.
Seems to have just come on. I just needed to get all of that off my
there you
chest. So now I can see my entire viewing panel.
There you go.
And we can get to sports. So very cathartic.
Yes.
Thank you for indulging me in that.
There you go.
But yeah,
well, everybody on your house is on the naughty list apparently. So.
Well, that's a whole nother well. One of my daughters, my wife was so mad. So 2 things happened. One, listen, we all share an Amazon account, right?
Yeah.
She has to go on and find all the purchase. You talked about the reconciliation. Every purchase made, because she'll buy stuff for work and get reimbursed.
Right.
So she has to scroll through the list because she can't remember everything that she bought. Anything I bought her on Amazon, she is clearly identified as for her, and it's pretty obvious. So, all right, so she knows everything she's getting from me. Of course, I didn't have well, maybe I did buy one of the ones from the kids to mom on there. So she knows at least one of those. And then one of my blabbermouth little girls, guess what I got you for Christmas? I don't want to guess, sweetie. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I just, whatever you got. Guess what we got you for Christmas? I don't want to know. Here's what I got you for Christmas. This is what I made for you because you said you wanted to make. I don't want to see it. Of course, she made it and she painted it. So it's all like just destroyed the table and goes, could you help me clean up all this mess that I made? And then after like just fights and fights and fights, she goes, then she just told me. Instead of asking me if I wanted to know, so my daughter has told her everything that the girls got her. Showed what
you need to celebrate the exuberance of wanting to give gifts rather than get gifts.
I am not upset by any of this, but my wife is furious.
That's her issue.
So, well, yeah, I mean, you talk about not having cats, kids, wives. It's just, well, turns out some of those moments that nourish you.
Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl, when all of that was done,
at least
just calm you down.
At least I didn't have the Thunder winning going away in the cup check.
Yeah, that was pretty eye-opening in the second half.
Yeah, I want to get to some stats that you sent me because they are absolutely delightful, but I've also liked for you to tell the people how wrong you were. So can we start with the Emirates Cup?
How wrong I was.
You have the Thunder. You're like, oh, Thunder. They're dominating this game. But you were wrong. You were right about part of it, but you were wrong about how it would go. Because what did you say? I'm very curious how they'll guard Giannis.
How they'll try to guard Giannis.
You didn't
they
say
don't have a good matchup.
Guard Giannis, and that's
and they guarded Dame for like the first 5 minutes. They put Dort on him. He didn't get much, and then they quit putting guys on him, and then he had wide open threes. But it was because they didn't guard Giannis.
I do a tease, and then you can't help yourself, can you? Can you?
I'm in full blown mode. We got Bakersfield tonight for the Pilots, the Roadrunners, trying to start a winning streak. It's teddy bear toss night.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for full-blown swag for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes. We'll start with him telling you why he wasn't wrong about how wrong he was about the Emirates Cup. We do that next. Luke and Swag filling in for Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The
and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Wow, this is clearly a dirt selection here, so... At first I was like, why do I know this song? I've never listened to this song.
I imagine we'll get shout a little later or something. I don't know what's on the rotator.
You save those all for Friday if you want. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, he'll reset it for Friday.
Yeah. Dirt Sprague back on Friday. Get you ready for the college football playoffs this weekend. We will do our part. We have Grayson Mann from Tiger Net.
That's right.
Not Tiger Nut. Which
No.
I didn't know anything about the Tiger Nut until this morning. I happened upon it trying to pull up Tiger Net, and I was like, wait, what the hell is a Tiger Nut? Do you know what a Tiger Nut is?
No idea.
It's not even a nut. It's a little tuber that looks like a nut. It's all shrivelly. It's supposed to have some health benefits. Got very popular in the last, 10 years.
Okay.
But Healthline promoting the benefits of the old Tiger Nut.
All right.
Not a nut. Tuber.
Okay.
There you go. Hey. Just telling you that it's a thing. I could talk to Grayson Mann about it
Sure.
at 7:30, but I don't think he will care. And we have a lot of questions about Dabo, who, if you didn't see,
he discovered the portal.
I thought he was going to quit when people got paid.
Yeah, I know.
Is that not?
Well,
Or
then he would quit getting paid.
Are all the Clemson players still playing for free, for the love of the game
No.
and Jesus and family? Football, faith, and family. Let's go. Let's go. But we'll do that at 7:30. We have plenty of things to get to, including quarterbacks being benched across the league, some throwing in the towel, some trying to save what hope they have left. But right now, we need to talk a little bit about last night's, we'll say, poor effort from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I guess they went out there and they tried, but
Well, there was
man,
no
they
lack
could not
of
make,
effort.
They
But
could not make a basket. I know, I'm correcting myself as I
Yes.
go. But boy, they could not make a shot. And I saw that they shot 15% from three. So
Yes.
15.6%. Only 33% on their field goal shooting percentage. They did shoot 81% from the free throw line, which was much better than Milwaukee, but that was not enough. So Giannis gets a triple-double. They don't have an answer for him.
he was truly the Greek freak last night. He was determined.
I'll tell you
He
this.
walked into the locker room and he just said, "Guys, we're not losing tonight." And that was pretty much the speech.
And you knew that he had that gear. I mean, 2021 when they won the championship, I mean, he was putting up 50-point games in the finals and carrying that team. And it's kind of felt like it's faded a little bit, but that was a good reminder that that's still there. And I don't think it's necessarily been anything of his own doing. The team has been injured or he has been injured. They've obviously made some changes with their coaching staff, adding, different players and changing the way you play around Damian Lillard versus Drew Holiday. I can't imagine being an easy transition, but he said, he's very happy for Damian Lillard. So that's the good part of it is you get that, and it's always fun. And I don't know if you did this intentionally, but in the opening sounder that you have Pat Connaughton to Gary Trent Jr.
No, it was a Giannis block.
I understand that, but it still had former Blazer in the clip. I just loved how it mentioned the two that you kind of go, oh yeah, those guys were Blazers too. We all know about Lillard, and then making sure it's just a reminder that, oh yeah, we had Pat Connaughton, who has been a very good player in Milwaukee. And then you have Gary Trent Jr. now with that team. So it's always fun to get that reminder. But the real story of yesterday's Emirates Cup championship game, the Oklahoma City Thunder have an expected shooting percentage based on what they've done of 34.9 from three-point. This is all according to Second Spectrum. They were only able to make 15.6%. So they had a drop of a 19.3 from what was expected. So then
it was still a miracle. It was a 1-point game. They were 1 of 17 in the first half, and it was a 1-point game.
Then you need the comeback, so you have to shoot more threes. And you would think at some point you're going to catch up to your average. Well, that did not happen.
No.
But the most alarming thing is that they were getting open threes.
Yeah.
And those seem to be the more difficult ones.
Yeah, they were just off. Everybody was off.
Yeah, they shot on open threes 2 of 22. It's 9% for anybody doing the math.
I would say most people might say, oh, I haven't seen anything like that before. But covering a lot of WCC hoops over the years, they're in person. I have seen that, and it is there's nothing more brutal to sit through.
Yeah.
When the offense, you're getting open threes, you're moving the basketball, you're getting it in the hands of your shooters, and they just don't go in.
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
Well, that's
Because
what you do is you lose by 20.
You lose by 20. So the second lowest offensive output from an NBA team this season, the Lakers had 80 in a game in the last couple of weeks.
That's the first time the Oklahoma City Thunder have scored less than 99 this season. Again, doesn't count. So it's not a real game. So they will keep their
But
averages.
no, that was more about Milwaukee
than
the Thunder. The Thunder will be fine.
Well, I mean,
they couldn't guard. Milwaukee did what I had talked about them doing, which is I would, if I was their Doc Rivers, I would put the ball in Giannis's hands, let him bring it up, let him deal, let him drive, and hopefully he's got enough vision going where he's not such in a mentality to give it up, to not give it up. Like he's going to try to dunk everything. He did that early to establish that, hey, I'm here. You're going to have to deal with me, and forced Oklahoma City to throw 2 and 3 guys at him.
Triple-double, 26, 19, and 10.
Yeah. Whew. So 10 assists, you love that. He crashed the offensive glass. A lot of guys did. They had a huge size advantage. And the Bucks doing this without Chris Middleton shooting as well from 3 as a team as they did without Chris Middleton was big.
Yeah, and we expected Middleton to be there, but
non-COVID
illness.
Yeah, he just got the flu or whatever.
Yeah, but I do like that they have to clarify. Non-COVID illness had him out. So
I think I heard they were 15. The Bucks now 15-3 or something like that in their last 18 games.
Well, this one doesn't count, but they started the season 2-8 over the first
Middleton
10
was
games.
out. Dame had a concussion there for a while. He missed some games. Giannis was dealing with some stuff.
Yeah.
But since they've kind of all gotten back, Middleton's come back. They start to look like a team who could compete in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I mean, I think the Eastern Conference is shaping up to be very interesting. I mean, the Cavaliers at the top, Celtics, of course, are the presumed favorite.
Right.
But I just think anytime you can get Giannis into this mode, and it just feels to me, having watched him for a handful of years, fairly closely. My brother's a huge Bucks fan. I think just because he likes the hat, but he watching
Does he go
him
back to the Junior Bridgman days.
He does not. I don't even think he goes back to Michael Redd. So we have. I think it's a matter of if you can get him comfortable. And that's what it felt like he had last night, where he just feels comfortable with the pieces around him. And to have that game without Chris Middleton out there, have Dame, spotting up from 3, 4.
When you have Dame, when you have Torrey and Prince knocking stuff down at a 50% clip, if Middleton comes back. The one thing I did say at some point in the day, I can't remember if it was on the show or later, was if the Bucks win, Brook Lopez goes off. He didn't, but as a team, he had a couple of threes late on the final push. But yeah, if they can shoot like that, but more importantly, if they can play defense, if that was the big thing when they lost Drew Holiday, was the defensive pressure on the perimeter severely dropped off.
Of course, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
So if they can play like that consistently, then
I think
maybe they have a shot against Boston, because you still have. Where Boston has 2 guys, 3 guys you can just throw the ball to get a bucket. Milwaukee's got 2.
Well, if Chris Middleton's in there, I think he's a guy that you can.
Well, but he needs to be set up.
He
can't get his own as much as.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that, but he can still get his own. And the other thing is, if you have Dame and Giannis on the court and you cannot take an eye off of those guys, it makes it a lot easier. So it doesn't necessarily that he has to be set up, but having 2 superstars on the floor with you makes things a little bit easier.
Anticlimactic finish to things. The first half was great. The intensity was up, and I think I hope the NBA notices that I don't think they need to do as much as they're trying to do because the players have bought in, and that's the most important thing.
Well,
And it's the problem that he's got with the All-Star game. The players bought into the cup.
yeah.
And the actual effort, performance, guys aren't sitting these games out unless they're actually hurt or sick.
Yeah.
Guys want to play in these games. And the money on the line it's really not that much. They talked about it. Like each player got like $519,000, which
for a day's work. I mean, I realize you play 7 games or whatever it is.
Well, but for Dame and Giannis, whatever. For the rookies and all the dudes on two-way contracts, so they're playing more for them.
Sure.
But there is something tangible on the line.
Yeah.
That, for the guys to buy into. But whatever Adam Silver did and the league did to get the players to buy into it, it worked. I don't think they need to do a bunch of extra stuff now.
Well,
with the courts and all the other.
The problem is, are people watching it as much
we'll
as they
find
need
out.
to? Because there's a
there
big
wasn't
investment.
anything else really going on this Tuesday night.
Well, they cleared the Scooters Coffee, Frisco, Chippo.
I'll be interested to see what the numbers come back as.
But for the finale, yes. But
also for the Cup games itself in November and December, if you can get fully engaged NBA teams, that's been the talk forever. Is like, we kind of kick it in Christmas, New Year's, and start to ramp it up. So if you can start earlier and have a bunch of games that you're going to highlight on TV that show teams playing at as full strength and fully engaged, and it's competitive for the players, that is good product. That's going to draw more eyeballs. You don't need to change the courts. You don't need to have special uniforms. You don't need to do all the extra crap. You got the most important thing, which is player buy-in, which will lead us to a discussion on all the changes coming to the All-Star game at some point.
Well, I mean, I think we'll probably go there here very quickly. The other thing is, I don't know if you saw the comments that Adam Silver had yesterday in his little pregame conversation with the media, but it sounded a whole lot like what you and I talked about yesterday. So we will stick with the NBA. At least one superstar not happy with the new All-Star game format, and Adam Silver recognizes that the league does have a problem. There may not be an easy solution for it, but he calls me and Swag. I think we've got it dialed up for him.
All right.
We'll talk about all that after this SportsCenter update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Milwaukee Bucks make a statement in the NBA Emirates Cup final. They hold the OKC Thunder to just 31 points in the second half, cruise to a 97-81 victory. Giannis Antetokounmpo named MVP of the Cup with a triple-double, 26 points, 19 boards, and 10 assists. Damian Lillard had 23 points, including 5 threes. The NBA also announced significant format changes to the All-Star game. It will now consist of a 4-team tournament, games being played to 40 points. TNT analysts Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal will pick 3 teams from the All-Star players. The 4th team will be the winning team from the Rising Stars Challenge. Yankees have filled the void in the lineup card left by Juan Soto going to the Mets. They trade for outfielder Cody Bellinger of the Cubs in exchange for right-handed pitcher Cody Poteet. Cubs also sent $5 million to New York to help offset Bellinger's remaining salary. After weeks of chatter about it, the Atlanta Falcons announcing Tuesday evening Kirk Cousins will head to the bench. Rookie Michael Penix Jr. going to get his first NFL start at quarterback this Sunday against the Giants. Wayne Tinkle's Oregon State basketball team mopping up the Gill Coliseum floor with the Hornets of Sacramento State Tuesday night. They cruise to an 82-45 victory. Tonight on 910 ESPN Portland, the Pilots hosting the Roadrunners of UC Bakersfield, 7 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage at 6:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation.
and whatever comes up, comes out.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Welcome back in, Dirt and Sprague. They're out, but they will be back on Friday. They have generously adjusted their holiday plans to accommodate you, the fans of The Fan. They're going to be here Friday. Get ready for the college football playoff. They will be here on Monday to recap the college football playoff. They might not even really celebrate Christmas. They'll be gone, but they'll just be thinking about the college football. So when they get back and get you ready for New Year's Day and the Ducks hosting either Tennessee or Ohio State, these guys are doing it. They're just conserving energy right now.
We're going to preview the Vols tomorrow.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think, because you and I talked about this early this week. Who are the two teams in this tournament, or who are the teams, kind of put them in order, of the ones I know the least about? And I think that falls on the Vols and the Clemson Tigers.
All right.
Because Clemson, I mean, I don't know about you, but Clemson, in the last 3 or 4 years has kind of become an afterthought for me.
Oh.
Dabo will say something dumb, and you go, and you roll your eyes and you move on. But, I mean, they were number 2 just behind Alabama with the most college football playoff wins in the 4-team tournament. They had 2 national championships. They were just a revolving door of the best quarterbacks in the nation. But then they got DJU, and things kind of went, brr. So here we are.
Yeah. Were you not down with
Klubnik?
Cade Klubnik?
Well, no, I mean, Cade Klubnik has got him to a college football playoff, but aren't they the 12 seed? They just eked in by the skin of their teeth.
Yes, they are. I believe so.
So you stick back to the old format. They're not close, but the new format, they get a chance. And do you want to play? Do you want to play a team?
That's the beauty. You win your conference title game, you're in.
Whew, hold on to barely win your conference title game, and you're in. So I also want to ask Grayson Mann about SMU. Because that's the other team that I would like a little bit, but he got to see him up close and personal and kind of see what that game is. So I've got questions for him about Dabo. I've got questions about the Cade Klubnik led Tigers, of course, and then SMU. So, anyways, I'm looking at the comments from the press conference with Adam Silver last night. Is a night to celebrate the NBA. Obviously, all the big names are there. They unveiled their new All-Star game plan, but they talked to Adam Silver about several other things, and I thought it was ironic that the ESPN article led with Adam Silver looking into critiques of increased three-point volume. What did I suggest yesterday?
Yeah.
Just be damned with the whole thing. Just get rid of the three-point line. Now, that did not come up as a actual suggestion, but I still love the idea of playing this tournament sans three-pointer. I think that your addition to my suggestion is absolutely brilliant. But the reason that the topic came up is right now you've got the Celtics averaging 51.1 attempts from 3 per game. Now, I've been struggling to find what the previous record is, but it says it will shatter the previous record for the most attempts.
Okay.
Very easily. I mean, they are right now, if we look at like league-wide, you've got the Celtics shooting 51 per game, Chicago shooting 43.7, Charlotte shooting 43. Those are your top 3.
Okay.
The Golden State Warriors only shooting 41 per game.
Right.
So the Celtics are shooting a full 10 more three-pointers per game than the Warriors.
40, I think, if you're shooting 10 a quarter.
Yeah.
I still think that's a lot.
I
still think that you could. I still think teams can utilize the 2 a little more.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
So, but you have a couple of problems. Traditional back to the basket centers are not being developed anymore.
Well, yeah, that's true, but there's not. Where's the incentive to do it?
There's no incentive. That's part of the thing is you score, you get paid. So it's easier. You don't have to make as many shots if you can knock down threes to score.
Yeah.
Plus, you space the floor. You don't get into as many. It's not as physically demanding on your body to drive into traffic constantly.
Well, that and it's if you can get a big that can shoot the 3, then you pull the defensive big men away from the basket, which allows you guys to slide. There's all the reasons why we're here. So looking at things like moving back the 3-point line, at least according to Silver's comments, is not really
It's not
an
really
option they're
practical.
considering. Well, there's
And it
no-
won't matter because you got guys pulling up from 30 feet anyway.
Well, I guess the other thing is when they've moved back, there's no evidence that it increases mid-range shooting.
No.
It creates more shots that are less efficient, if anything. So if you move it back to,
Well, and you can't move it anymore on the sidelines. Because you
unless
got
you make the court wider.
Yeah.
Which
now
then
you-
eliminates seats
now you're
and
into
the whole thing. Yeah.
different whole.
Yeah. So there
game worms.
doesn't seem to be a good solution, but it is definitely something that the league is monitoring, and I think it's pretty obvious. Emirates Cup, you're already redoing the floors.
Yeah.
Just eliminate the line.
There you go.
That would get me to watch. It doesn't seem like such a dramatic change.
Do you want to go way, way back and no shot clock too?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I do not want to go
Just
five.
checking.
I do not want to go four corners.
Just checking.
If anything, if you're going to do it, eliminate the 3-point line and speed up the shot clock.
Oh, okay.
Now you got something. 15-second shot clock, no 3-point line. What does that look like? Hey, would you be into that? With NBA players. Because here's the thing.
Maybe 20.
Okay. But there is, and we will probably get into this topic later. They've released a 60-page report on why injuries are increasing in Major League Baseball. Guess what?
For
It's
pitchers. This is specifically on pitchers.
If you throw harder more often, you get injured more often.
Right.
Turns out pitching, because they missed 32,000 innings of play or whatever it is this year compared to
now there is a bit more
14,000
nuance. If it's actually quite a long article.
We'll get it. We can get into it. We can have the conversation about that. But the comparison here is to make any real change at the major league level, you have to go all the way back to what's happening in the high school and the developmental level. The difference, I think, with the NBA is you can make these changes at the top because it is a entirely different game at the NBA level. And you watch a lot of college basketball.
Yes.
But you also get the difference between, even Gonzaga, who plays a schedule where their non-conference does not include the Willamette Bearcats. Yes, the Bearcats. I know it now. I learned it yesterday.
Good.
The Bearcats.
Never going to forget.
But when you're playing only the top level Division I talent, that game is not close to the NBA. And then you get to see the pilots who are playing some of the lower levels, and you just can't do the same things. These NBA guys, I mean, it's, and there's some guys that just from where they're shooting from, they would adapt to whatever changes you make to the game. So if anything, simplifying the game, I think, would make it really entertaining.
Yeah. We'll see.
They're not going to do it.
They're not going to go backwards.
I don't think it necessarily takes it backwards.
I don't know what you do.
But you've got the All-Star game that they're going to this new model. You've got the tournament that they're adding in to get more eyeballs, to make a change to the game that isn't a dramatic change. Imagine how different the game is last night if it's a 2-point shooting contest. Could be fun. Could be fun.
Could be.
And it changes things up. All-Star game. It's getting a dramatic change. You seem to like it based on your facial expression when you were talking about it, comparing it to hockey. But you might have just had hockey excitement flowing through your veins. Can't tell. So we'll figure out how Swag feels about it. But I know how at least one NBA superstar feels about it. And he hates it. I hate 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 it. We'll talk about that next. Sinner, not the Sinner and Saint. We are Dirt and Sprague with Luke and Swag filling in on 1080 The Fan.
when it's not always raining.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
No one complaining.
We got some breaking news. One of our local college football teams.
Yep.
I don't think it's good news. Coug fans.
No, I don't think so. I think Coug fans will be a little disappointed. They were really, Dickert stayed initially through all the changes, trying to find a new home and create a conference out of nothing. And
Sources have told Ralph D. Russo and Bruce Feldman of The Atlantic that...
The Athletic.
The Athletic. What did I say?
The Atlantic.
Oh.
Little different publication.
Yeah, a little one. The Atlantic breaking college football news. The Athletic. Wake Forest is hiring Washington State head coach Jake Dickert.
Yes, their head coach stepped down. Wake Forest head coach stepped down. I can't remember if it was over the weekend or early this week.
Yeah.
He's going to stay on in some advisory capacity with the university, but yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is just the toughest thing for Washington State is now they're behind the 8 ball. I mean, you would have had a chance at Bill Belichick or Michael Vick, but they're both already hired. So now where do you go?
I don't know where they go.
Well, they're going the wrong direction. I mean, the new proposed, or I guess
they still need a football program
Pac-12
to join the new Pac-12. Pac-8, Pac-9, whatever.
I don't think they're getting rid of football, and there are plenty of coaches out there that would love
well,
to
I know
have
that, but
job.
that conference, they still need one more member to come
yes,
in.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Football.
That's why I said, the suggested new Pac-12. I still think Gonzaga just gets football, and that would be fun because then they can be the doormat in one sport and they dominate in the other sport.
No.
Listen, I know it's not going to happen. I just said it would be fun, but imagine the Eastern Washington rivalry between Gonzaga and Washington State. Washington State, the day that they converge and Gonzaga has a better football school. But it's just more bad news for two schools that near and dear to many heart here in the Northwest. I always grew up rooting for the Cougars, even though I didn't go to school there, and just to see the two schools that when you looked at why they got left behind, it's clear they don't have the same.
It's just geography.
It's not necessarily just geography.
Yeah,
It's the amount of money that they have at the schools. It's the prestige of the institutions. It's the history of the football programs. It's all of those things. Because when we were looking at it, going, all right, where is the realistic landing spot? There is an element of geography to it. There's no question about that. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not the only reason that they got left behind. They have the smallest football stadiums. They have the smallest student population. They have the smallest donor pool. They have the smallest
markets on the West Coast.
Yeah, so there's all of these elements, but it's also schools that have had at their height greatness. I mean, they've had just a lineage of NFL players that have come through both schools. They have been number one in the country. They have been part of.
Tell me how they're any different from Virginia Tech.
Their conference didn't fall apart because it was under the worst leadership in college football for a decade, and they didn't get left behind because they just did.
Yeah.
But there's an element of
the
this.
problem now is with Dickert leaving and all of these things, they're still they can't gain any traction to move forward.
Well, the problem is what they're going to have to do is take Hail Marys to get back to where they once were. But the problem is if you fail on those, see Oakland Las Vegas Raiders on Monday night, you could end up just losing by more. So it's a disappointing spot to be in. But I still think that they have enough prestige to go out there and take somebody away from a Sun Belt conference maybe, or certainly FCS school, and you just need to get the right guy in there. And, for as long as Mike Leach was there, there was, an excitement around that school, and it's going to have to be somebody that is maybe a little bit unconventional like that.
Either that or
get in there.
Somebody that has some serious Cougar ties to because you got to get to the donor base and
get Ryan Leaf,
get
him in there,
the fans, get all that going. So this is a tricky hire.
It very much is. Well,
for Washington State,
and it's I don't know what you offer them. It's going here. Well, you're
going to need some donors to put something extra in it because
Yeah.
The actual university budget isn't going to be all that much.
It gets very tricky, but
That's too bad.
Definitely a bummer. Thank you to the listener on the Vancouver Ford text line who kind of sent the message that got us into that. So, it's very sorry for all the Cougs out there. You're losing Jake Dickert, but the good news is, you still have the coolest logo in college football. Great color scheme, beautiful stadium. Do they still do the nickel beer pitchers or whatever at whatever the place is out there?
The Coug? I don't know. I don't know if they still
Name another school with their own cheese.
I know.
Come on, there's plenty of reasons. They got the. I know it's not the.
Well, when the pilots head out there, whenever we're going out there this season, I'll do a little research.
Okay, we'll see. And Swag still excited about his visit to Pullman. So
I've never been.
There you go. Look, plenty
I've
of
never
things.
been to Pullman.
You get to host the great Jason Swagger. There's so many things to look forward to. College football might not be one of them, but whatever. It is what it is for now. The darkest days, it can only get brighter. We missed out on the NBA there, but we'll probably get back into it at some point. We got to talk about some college. We have to talk about some college football for sure. We've got Tiger Nets, Grayson Mann at 7:30. NFL, they are benching quarterbacks across the league. So a lot to get to in hour 2. This is Dirt and Sprague with Luke and Swag on 1080 The Fan.
Live on the Odyssey app is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan.
By the way, should we change that name? It's too late now.
An Odyssey sports station. Now from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, some breaking news this morning. First reported by The Athletic. Wake Forest is finalizing a deal to hire Jake Dickert to be their next head football coach away from Washington State. Everything should be finalized before the day is over. Milwaukee Bucks making a statement in the NBA Emirates Cup final. They held the Thunder to just 31 points in the second half, 15% shooting from the three-point arc. A 97-81 victory. Giannis Antetokounmpo named MVP of the Cup. He had a triple-double, 26 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Damian Lillard chipping in with 23 points, including 5 threes. NBA also announced significant format changes to the All-Star Game. This season, it will consist of a 4-team tournament. Games will be played to 40 points. TNT analysts Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal will pick 3 teams from the All-Star players. The 4th team will be the winning squad from the Rising Stars Challenge. After weeks of chatter about it, the Atlanta Falcons announcing Tuesday evening Kirk Cousins will head to the bench. Rookie Michael Penix Jr. will get his first NFL start at quarterback Sunday against the Giants. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for Dirt and Sprague.
All of a sudden, 1 week, nobody had anything down there.
It's a new world. I was born too early.
I've never been a fan of the bush, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
With Andy Dirt Johnson.
I'm going to need some pliers and set a 30-weight ball bearing. What the hell you need ball bearings for? Oh, come on, guys. It's so simple. Maybe you need a refresher course. It's all ball bearings nowadays.
And Brendan Sprague.
Only problem is he's got a little bit of Mississippi leg hound in him. If the mood catches him right, he'll grab your leg and just go to town. You don't want him around if you wear his short pants, if you know what I mean.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith, as there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run, and so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
The Fan.
The saga of Castellanos' home run calls is one of the great in sports. Was it like Veterans Day or some memorial thing?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they were telling some story.
But there's what, 3 or 4 of those? It's just great.
Then the ironic part was BC with their quarterback Castellanos was playing a CW game and Brenneman was on the call.
I'm sorry, you said who's quarterback?
BC.
Who now?
Boston College.
He's in the transfer portal.
Oh, wow.
Just seeing if you're up on it. So yeah, he is committed to Florida State.
Okay.
So he's moving within the ACC. So, yeah, I'm trying to keep track of the transfer.
I will wait until it's all done and hashed out, and we get to spring football, and there's actually rosters. And
you know what's funny?
I tend to not get caught up in all of that.
I genuinely just pulled it up because I've got all the quarterback benchings going on in the NFL as one of the things, and I was like, maybe we switch gears and go a little college football. So I literally just pulled it up, and the first name on the list is Thomas Castellanos. And he is going to Florida. And I knew that he was in the portal, and I was like, I better check and see where he actually – yeah, he's committed. And then you have Virginia's quarterback is also in the transfer portal. It's just – yeah. And then you've got the whole list of people that are sitting out the bowl games, but none of those bowl games matter to me, so I'm not too worried about that. But if you're just joining the program, the big news from this morning is Jake Dickert is leaving his school and going to Wake Forest. The Athletic reported this morning that he is taking the job to travel across the country. More ACC football news, because I know that's what everybody's looking for this morning, and we'll continue that trend because we have Grayson Mann joining us in, 26 minutes or so to talk about Clemson's hopes and aspirations against Texas on Saturday. So we'll do that. Tomorrow we'll preview some Tennessee. With the Dickert news, we did have to skip the unveiling of the new All-Star format in the NBA. Before we get into the details of it, there's been a lot of work done trying to save all of these All-Star games in pro sports.
Yes.
Why? Do we really care that much that we didn't get
because
max
there's a lot of
effort
money
and max defense?
My guess is the TV networks, if they're pouring all of this money into it for production and advertisers are spending all this money, they need eyeballs.
All right. So driven by TV executives. That's probably a fair assessment.
So it's the machine. So the machine wants a compelling event.
Okay.
To justify rights fees and advertising dollars and all that sort of stuff. Major League Baseball has an inherent advantage because you can essentially, when you go out and play the game, you can play the game, the individual players, whatever you're doing out there, you can play it just like you normally play it. the other sports, basketball,
Football for sure.
football,
Hockey.
Nobody wants to get an injury in an exhibition game that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and it's the skill sets have changed so much in football and basketball in particular too. It's they tried to implement the skills challenge in football, but it doesn't really translate because everybody plays a different position. You do the different disciplines in basketball, and they've seemed to move away from all-stars and make it more of a sideshow as opposed to an entree.
The NHL went through this too, and so they changed it up. And
you said NHL, right?
NHL, yeah.
Yeah.
So they went to this. The NBA adopted their model. The NHL's been doing this, I think, for a decade now at least. They went to 3-on-3. So essentially what you have in overtime, so you have 3-on-3 plus a goalie, and they play 15, 20-minute games or something like that. And they play, there's 4 teams, so each division will assemble their all-stars, and it's great, and it's fun, and it's quick, and the All-Star weekend, the one advantage that the NHL has when they have their skills competition, which I think is more fun than the NBA ones anyway.
Well, yeah, the NBA one is dull. They should just play bump or knockout or whatever.
I don't know. They could go to horse. That would be
horse would be awesome.
If you had Dame and Steph Curry playing horse,
I would love horse. I've been
do that.
screaming that from the years. But the games that everybody grew up playing, forget the skills challenge. Keep the dunk contest, but make it all stars. Keep the 3-point contest, but make it all stars. And then add horse and bump. I'd be all in for that.
And then and so it's the players of the All-Star, all the All-Star players, they're the ones that compete in the skills competitions.
Yep. Yes, and it should be.
Yeah.
You can throw 21 in there, too. That's another fun pickup basketball game that you can play with just 3 guys. Yeah. Let's go. So here is the new format. So, as you mentioned, similar to what they're doing in the NHL, but it will be a 4-team, 3-game, 1-night tournament. 3 teams composed of all-stars and 1 team composed of the winning Rising Stars game. So they'll do, the Friday night Rising Stars challenge.
Yeah.
2 teams of rookies and second-year players go head-to-head. The winner of that gets to take on 8-man teams of all-stars. Now, the teams will be selected by Shaq, Charles Barkley, and
Kenny Smith.
And the Rising Stars will be Candace Parker's team. So they're taking the game day, or the TNT game night crew, and just going, all right, let's pick your teams. Let's go. There will only be 8-man rosters, so they will go quick. And instead of a clock, the games will be played to 40.
Played to 40. Now, is it 2s and 3s or 1s and 2s? I'm assuming it's 2s and 3s.
It did not make any indication that, but so I
now is
assume
it full
it's 2s
5-on-5?
It's 5-on-5.
Now that would have been more fun. See, they could have done
5-on-5 basketball is great.
They could have done 4-on-4. You could have done the Olympic 3-on-3 stuff. That would have been fun.
That's half court. I don't mind the 5-on-5 because here's the thing: is no self-respecting all-star team is going to want to lose to the Rising Stars team. So I think that adds an element of, all right, let's put these guys in their place, and then after the first round, once the juices are already going, you're going to want to win. If you put in the effort to win the first game, you're going to want to put in the effort to win the second game.
The whole thing
you at least you have an investment of effort.
Right. So the whole thing is this going to get people to play defense? Because that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is basically the All-Star game had been everybody gets turned with a basketball, whether you try to do some fantastic dunk or you pull up from 48 feet.
Yeah, well, they'll build some financial incentives into it. They've already mentioned that it's going to be quicker than it would to play a full game. I mean, to put up 40 is you've seen quarters with 40 points in them. So I don't think there's anything there where you feel like you're going to get too much run and, let's reserve ourselves. The other thing is you're still going to do the voting the same.
Yeah, so voting's the same, so the pool of all-stars will be the same.
And they'll still identify starters, and then what they'll do is they'll just take the entire pool. The nice thing about it is you're going to have guys that are going to be the 8th man on the team that are going to get plenty of run. You're going to have opportunities to get out there. Yeah. So you're going to have, by dividing it up into 3 teams, you're going to have 15 starters. There's going to be at least one guy that's putting out effort. on every team, which will, I think, feed into the rest of it. There's somebody that's going to want to win because they're going to want to put their name on it. There's going to be somebody that wants an MVP trophy because the biggest challenge that I have with the way the NBA game, All-Star game has been played is it's whoever makes the craziest shot wins the MVP. Whoever takes the most threes and makes them from the deepest spot. I mean, Doncic shot a 70-footer last year, and Dame made a 44-footer, and they're throwing underhand full-court passes. This is like, all right, you don't want to play hard? Fine. Get it over quick, and you'll have less effort. So having the target.
Will they play defense? That's
I
the
don't
whole
hate
question.
it. But I do want to quote KD. He says, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Terrible. We should go back to East and West. Just play the game. I hate it. I absolutely hate
KD,
it.
if you guys would play the game.
Yeah, it's your fault, dude.
Yeah. If you go back and it mattered the way it did to Kareem and Magic and McHale and Bird back in the day when the East and the West truly hated each other, and usually you stayed in one conference.
Well, let me ask you a question. You feel like you're on the right side of the argument if you're with or against KD?
Usually against.
Well, there you go.
Thank you. Every once in a while,
there's a few guys that in the league that I like taking their advice. There are some that I don't. Obviously, with the elephant in the room being us competing, them trying to shake things up is expected and makes sense, said Oklahoma City respectable guard and person that I admire, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to whether the players want to go at it, and I would love to see that, love to be a part of that for sure, and hopefully it happens. So you have Shai or you have KD. Pick your side. I will roll
about the players deciding they want to play.
I will roll with SGA.
And it means something. And like I said, the league with the Emirates Cup got the players to buy in, and it means something to the players. Wherever that meaning comes from, who cares? For me as a fan, I get a better product.
Yep.
So figure out players. If you want to play and you want to make it important and meaningful, then it really doesn't matter what the format is. But
what I'm hopeful of is I think this will lend itself to a great atmosphere, which is really like, I mean, that's other than the TV audience. I think one of the cool things about these, and like when you watch the dunk contest, whoever's in it, when you watch a 3-point contest, usually the entire front row is players, other players watching and their excitement. You have the two losing teams sitting there watching the championship bid for the game to 40.
You think they're going to come back out and stick around? I think if they lose, I think they're on the first PJ out of there.
You kidding me? You wouldn't want to stay and watch Luka Doncic's team versus LeBron's team?
No, I think they want to start however much left of their vacation as possible.
How long do you think it'll realistically take for a team to get to 40?
I don't think it matters once you lose. Also, those guys, once you lose,
I still think it's a celebration because that is one of the cool things I would think.
Plus, you've already been there for 3 days.
But
you've got a Friday press conference you have to go to, the skills competition, and then you play. And if you lose, those guys are out of there. They want to start their break as fast as possible.
I am hopeful.
I don't know. I forgot where it is this year.
Ooh, I didn't see that either. But I am hopeful that I would. Oh, it's in San Francisco. I would be, if in that situation, I would tip my cap to the team that beat me, and I would stick around and watch. I think it would be awesome because the format, it's going to be quick, it's going to be fun, and you're going to be able to, if somebody catches fire,
pain in the ass to get to San Francisco Airport from the Chase Center, they're out of there.
You're insane.
We'll
they're
see.
They're on a plane before the final is over.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Especially if you lose the first game.
Somebody writes somebody.
Second game, you're probably showering and doing that. So unless they're required,
if you lose a second game, you'll take a shower. The first one, you're just right out.
Well, no, because the first game, second game. Plus, we'll see how long the intermission is between each game and how many timeouts and TV crap they do in between.
Are you
with
this or are you against it?
I'm. What if they think it'll work to make guys play defense and give me a competitive game? Great.
But what do you think? What do you think it will make a positive impact on All-Star Weekend or not? I do. I like the idea of it. And like you said, if there's even hope that people will play defense, I think there is personal pride. And again, if a guy gets hot, if Steph gets hot, because you can come out and you're going, all right, let's go scorched earth and let's try to win this game as quick as we can. A guy like Steph gets hot, it's going to change the entire dynamic of the defense because you need to slow him down. You're going to open up all-star shooters all over the court. The game could be over in 10 minutes.
Okay.
It could.
We'll see. It's all incumbent upon the players.
Well, absolutely it is. But if you
want
to get out,
if we get a bunch of KDs out there who will get voted in,
of course he will.
This is stupid. Then what do you got?
The captains, I wish the coaches were Charles, Kenny, and Shaq. Because Charles Barkley would be like, oh, you don't want to play? Bench.
No, the coaching staffs, I think they said it'll still be the teams with the best records in the conferences at whatever date it is. Usually it's the end of January. There's some date. And the assistants will be the head coaches.
And you'll be exempt if you coach last year's game or something.
Right. They don't have the same staff year after year.
So it'll be the same coaching, but I think listen, I'm all for it. I love the idea of this where you can get it, shorten the time, have a different goal than just being the highest score at the end of it. So it should be fun. Let's get into the college football playoff. We'll be talking with Grayson Mann at 7:30. So I want to kind of get some of your thoughts on the game. We'll do a little preview of that before we talk to an insider and an alum of the great Clemson Tigers. You're listening to Luke and Swag filling in for Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
feeling about
This
that
is
bad
Dirt and
kid.
Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. I don't know if you know this, Jason Swigard, but this weekend, they're doing the college football playoff.
Yes.
Oh, you did know that?
Did know that.
Oh. Did you know that at 1 o'clock you're getting Clemson at Texas?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I guess you're all caught up then.
I will have to DVR that one.
Oh, you got Pilots?
Yeah.
Oh, who the Pilots got?
The mighty Lafayette Leopards.
Oh, you don't need football then? You're good. Just skip it, man. That's going to be a better game than this one. I don't even know why we're talking about it. Tell me about the Lafayette Leopards. What do you
I
saying?
haven't dug in. I was digging into Bakersfield. So Bakersfield,
I
old
was-
school. You would
I
love
was-
Bakersfield. They shoot mid-range jumpers.
I was digging into Bakersfield, he said. Ugh. Just sounds, I don't know, methy? Is that digging into?
I don't know.
All right. Well, the college football playoff. I don't know what your thoughts are on Clemson, but I am trying to formulate them as we go. We've seen a lot of Texas, but Texas, you just kind of make this assumption that going into the SEC and getting, through the regular season with one loss, getting to the championship game, that's a successful season. But then they didn't look great against Georgia. Their defense, we know, is good,
Right.
but they can't beat Georgia. I have no idea how good they are based on their schedule. Their big wins were Michigan, A&M, Oklahoma. You get to the end of the year and you're like, oh well, none of those teams were really that good.
True.
You look at Clemson.
Same thing.
They lost to South Carolina. They lost to Georgia. So you have two teams that have a combined 3 losses against Georgia, and then South Carolina finished 15th in the country.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to expect from this game, but just looking at everything that we're seeing, it's Texas, 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 Texas. We'll talk to Grayson Mann here in just a little bit and kind of get his thoughts, but I assume that he's going to give us all the reasons that Clemson can win this game. But before we talk to him, Are you going to leave any room for him to talk us into that?
Certainly, because I think Texas is, how much do you play Arch Manning? Will Quinn Ewers throw the inopportune interception?
Is Cade Klubnik the best quarterback out there? 33 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, threw for 3,000
Clemson
yards.
Get some big hitter plays.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
They've got a 1,000-yard back, the 3,000-yard passer, and an 800-yard receiver on their team. So the offense isn't a problem. It's have they played a defense as good as Texas?
Right.
That's, I think, where it gets a little dicey. And then I think a lot lot of questioning Quinn Ewers. Like, is he?
Oh, there's a lot of clamor in Austin
the
that they
guy?
believe Arch Manning should be in there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But according to my Dr. Pepper commercial viewing, guy didn't even need a backup. So
we'll see.
It's gonna be.
There's certainly a path for them to, make it interesting and possibly pull an upset.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's really interesting about this game too is awaiting the winner of this game is Arizona State.
Yep.
How do we feel about Arizona State? I mean, a lot of people think that they probably didn't deserve the bye, but they win the Big 12 and they win it going away against Iowa State. They look, like every bit, the champion that the crown would bestow upon them. But they also were picked to finish dead last. The Big 12 has no power teams like we were talking about yesterday. So is this the best draw if Clemson can get a win, or if Texas does what we expect Texas to do?
No, I think the preferred draw would be Boise State because you know what you're getting in Boise State.
Yeah.
So if Arizona State, they had their number one receiver was injured in that Big 12 title game, but I think they're hoping that there's enough time for him to heal up and be available.
Yeah.
So if that happens, Scattaboo is scary of his own right.
Yes.
I think they can be more dynamic on offense. The bigger question for both those teams is, can their defenses hold up to, if they get a big, giant, rugged, strong team from the Big Ten or the SEC for 4 quarters, what will that do to them?
Well, the biggest advantage Clemson has is a road team, it feels like here. Weather. It's only a game not played in the Arctic chill of the Great White North.
It'll be cool, but no, weather should
Penn
not
State,
affect what
Ohio
they're
State, and Notre Dame hosting the game. So it feels like this should be kind of a proper one. Vancouver Ford text line. All texts on the fan are via the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further before, during, and after the sale. They treat you right. Visit VancouverFord.com. If you've got questions, we'll talk to Grayson Mann here in just a moment. So if you've got questions about Clemson, I know he's done at least one podcast with Texas. So if you've got questions about the second game on Saturday, feel free to send those in now, and we'll talk to Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com, and we'll do that next. It is Dirt and Sprague with Luke and Swag on 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Red Tail Golf Center's holiday sale going on now, up to 50% off all your holiday golfing needs. Red Tail Golf Center, where they guarantee the lowest holiday prices. Visit them at golfredtail.com. First on The Fan, the breaking news earlier today, first reported by The Athletic. Jake Dickert will be leaving Washington State to take the head football coaching job at Wake Forest University. The Milwaukee Bucks, a dominant defensive effort in the Emirates Cup final. They hold OKC to just 31 points in the second half for a 97-81 victory. Giannis Antetokounmpo named MVP of the Cup with a triple-double, 26 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Damian Lillard was 5 of 10 from three-point range with 23 points. The NBA also announcing significant format changes for the All-Star Game this February. It will consist of a 4-team tournament. Games will be played to 40 points. TNT analyst Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal will pick the 3 teams from the All-Star players. The 4th team will be headed up by Candace Parker. It's the winning team from the Rising Stars Challenge. Yankees fill in the void, and the lineup card left when Juan Soto went to the Mets. They trade for former MVP Cody Bellinger of the Cubs in exchange for right-handed pitcher Cody Poteet. Cubs also send $5 million to New York to help offset Bellinger's remaining salary. The Atlanta Falcons announcing Tuesday they just can't take any more Kirkers. They will send Kirk Cousins to the bench in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr. getting his first NFL start this Sunday at quarterback against the Giants. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new long-sleeve tee and hoodies. Some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Celebrate the season with a Northwest tradition, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
That's right. Luke Anderson filling in for Dirt and Sprague. Today's Daily Ticker is brought to you by Pelican Brewing Company. This year, give Santa what he wants. Forget milk and a pair of his cookies with the Northwest's favorite festive beer, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. We are talking college football playoff, and we have admitted that we do not know enough about Clemson, so we're bringing in some help on the line. We have Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com. He's a journalist. He's a podcaster. He hosts the Orange Crush podcast. Grayson, what's happening with you this morning?
Feeling good, man. Ready and excited to get to Saturday. There's a lot of it's a good vibe in the community right now. Clemson's back in the playoff for the first time since the COVID year.
Ooh,
and fans are ready to get to Austin and get this rolling.
Well, before we get into Clemson football, it looks like to me that Clemson is hosting Wake Forest in basketball at 11:30 on Saturday. Tell me they're not sending anybody from TigerNet to that game.
They are not.
Okay. If you got the short straw on that one, that would be rather difficult. So you mentioned it, not in the playoffs since 2020. The playoffs were a second home for the Clemson Tigers, only behind Alabama in total victories, national championships. But then they get DJU, who we're familiar with out here because of his stint at Oregon State, and things kind of went a different direction. What's it been like over the last couple years as far as the faithful are concerned at Clemson? Because from a national perspective, we've kind of put them in the afterthought category.
Yeah, for Clemson, the last 3 years have been a lot of soul searching, especially within this new era of college football. You mentioned the word portal around any Clemson fans here. You might get a couple pages long of a rant about how they perceive it should be used. But here we are with the playoffs once again, where you mentioned it was a second home for the Tigers, where with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson at quarterback, you assumed that it was basically a formality that Clemson would assume one of the four spots in the big dance. And now Clemson's found its way back with Cade Klubnik winning the ACC championship in pretty thrilling fashion. They got a pretty big test against Texas. And so I think for when we talk to the coaches and the players this week, it's just a lot of excitement that this group was the one to bring them back to the CFP. And they believe they have a legitimate shot. I know that the odds makers would say otherwise against the Longhorns, but this team has a lot of beliefs that they've carried pretty much since the Pittsburgh game, where that Cade Klubnik scramble touchdown gave them a chance to be in the ACC championship. And then Hoosier, that kick gives them a chance to be in this moment. So they're just riding this wave of momentum they've built, and they're ready to go.
Did I see that Dabo Swinney is actually using the portal?
Your eyes do not deceive you, my friend.
One of the things that's interesting, right? We're out here in the state of Oregon, and there's so many teams to keep an eye on nationally. You mentioned the championship game. I mean, two teams that I will admit that I did not know much about until the game was played. Were you surprised by how much of a fight SMU put up in that game? Were they kind of the interlopers that just kind of popped in and kind of got an easy draw through the ACC schedule? Or was that a game that you went into with some trepidation, thinking that you were going to be in for a fight that you were?
I think for Clemson, they were who they were going to be entering that ACC championship. I had actually picked the Mustangs to win just because of who Clemson was and the body of work that they had presented, where in the big games, we talked about how the playoffs were a second home for Clemson. You remember all the big games back in the 2010s where Clemson was going to give their best when the moment called for it, and it really hasn't been the case for the last 3 years. And so for me, it was wondering what team am I going to get? And you saw a Clemson team come out with a lot of fire against what I believe to be a pretty good SMU team. I believe they'll give Penn State a big fight in Happy Valley this Saturday. But then we also saw what Clemson is and sort of the SMU comeback that was a microcosm for what this season is for the Tigers, where you take two steps forward, but ultimately you're taking the same steps backwards and you're back at square one. And somehow, some way, this team finds a way to win, and now they have a shot to win a national title if they can make a little run here. So I did think SMU was a little maybe not the eighth best team in the country, but certainly deserving to be in the playoff. And I think they showed that on Saturday against Clemson.
Well, I'm just wondering if that was enough preparation for Clemson to go on the road. The offense has put up gaudy numbers most of the season, but on the road they've been significantly lower. Is that more a function of the opponents that they played, or do they need to come up with a different formula going into Austin?
The road conversation was a big talking point this offseason, particularly from 2023, where it was an entirely different team, and 2023 was a interesting season. I'll put it at that, at the very least, for the Tigers. So you go on the road, they won all their games away from Clemson this year, so that's a positive that this team's taking into this trip to Austin. But I think it's an entirely different beast when you go from the construction vibes at Florida State or the half-orange packed Wake Forests of the world. It's going to be a different venue. There's going to be 105,000 Texas fans ready to chew your head off, and I don't think this Clemson team has particularly seen that kind of atmosphere. Maybe if they'd beaten South Carolina and Columbia this year, that'd be sort of a soft entrance into something like this. But this is an entirely different animal when it comes to just a road atmosphere. And I think it's going to be what's special about this first round of the college football playoffs is you're going to get a fan base that's incredibly charged up, and it's going to be really fascinating to see how they operate. I almost wanted to see Oregon. That was one of the teams that I wanted to go visit to in the playoffs in the first round, but they took care of their business in the Big Ten Championship. So we'll settle for Austin, I guess.
We're talking with Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com, at Twitter at Gray_Man21. You are an alum, and you were there for the good years. New to TigerNet, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. This is my first full year, full time with them. I freelanced with David over the summer, just jokingly asking if he wanted some help for the Clemson Super Regional.
There you go.
And the rest is history from there. I got to shout out David Hood, good friend and colleague of mine, who's really given me this opportunity. And it's been a blessing, man. First full year doing this, and for the university that I graduated from, it's all pretty surreal.
That's great. The one thing that you mentioned was, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence leading that team. The other big change that the Clemson Tigers have had in recent years is Brent Venables left, and that was kind of the beginning of the end as well. Texas is known for their defense. I think they're second in the country in points allowed. Clemson's defense, not the same thing. So you go on the road, you're hoping that your offense can get things going. Do you have enough faith in the defense that they'll be able to stop a shaky Quinn Ewers and a talented Texas offense enough to be there to make those big plays? Is that something you have faith in?
I do think it's going to be a different test, or different kind of test, for this Clemson defense, where in the last two matchups they've played Lenore Stellars, pretty mobile quarterback. Many fans and media journalists alike were using the words Cam Newton in the press box just to describe the playmaking that Sellers had in Death Valley on that Saturday. And then you go play another mobile playmaker in Kevin Jennings, where if the play breaks down, they're prone to really utilize their legs and make something happen. That's not necessarily the case here with Quinn Ewers, more of a pure pocket passer, and a Texas team that is really driven through the rushing attack. And I think that directly opposes some flaws that Clemson's had to face all year. The rushing defense hasn't been particularly sound and consistent. And so I think for this Clemson front seven, it's going to be hinged on a lot of Sammy Brown, a lot of Barrett Carter, and then, man, we're going to get a phenomenal matchup between P.J. Parker and Kelvin Banks. Both players, I think, will be playing on Sundays for a long, long time.
All right,
if you had to give an edge, I would probably give it to Texas just based on what I've seen from Clemson, but I wouldn't be shocked if the best players on Clemson just turn out to make the big plays and keep this thing close. I'm going to be picking Texas in the end, but I do think Clemson's got more of a shot than people realize.
All right, I've got two very quick questions for you. One is being in close proximity, having gone to the school from 3,000 miles away, our perspective is Dabo seems insufferable. Is that the case when you're dealing with him on a daily basis?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Well, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Yes or no, is he insufferable? You can say no, I'm okay with that. It probably won't change my opinion, but yes or no?
I don't believe he is.
Okay.
He has his moments, but he's overall not. He's fine.
Okay, let's flip the perspective very quickly before we get out of here. What's your perspective from deep in the South, where football was born and bred? What's your perspective of the Oregon Ducks?
Man, I think Oregon's the best team in the country. When you look at Dylan Gabriel and just what he's been able to do with this offense, Heisman Trophy finalist. They've been my best team in the country for a long time. They really earned my respect against Ohio State, a team that going into it, I thought Ohio State was the most complete team in the country. And Oregon's speed really caught me off the charts. And I think they're going to be making a deep run, and they're my pick to win the national championship. Not just saying that because I'm on.
Oh, yeah,
radio,
right.
But...
I was going to say, if you say the same thing on Boise State radio later today, I'm coming after you.
If I say Boise State's winning the national championship, I may have some ears. Someone may be calling for my job.
It'll be your last year on the job. Well, unless they do it. Grayson, I appreciate you joining us. That is Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com. Hey, have a great time in Austin. That atmosphere is going to be out of this world. And if Clemson can get the upset, just protect yourself.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
All right, there it is. Grayson Mann, appreciate him joining us, getting us ready for the college football playoff. Swag and I will take a minute to get our thoughts on what we heard there from Grayson, and we'll wrap up the hour. We'll do that next. You're listening to a Luke and Swag edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
Obviously a tough night offensively all the way around for us. We didn't score nearly enough points, especially in the second half, to give ourselves a chance to win. But we can learn from it, move forward here.
That's Mark Dagnone. He's the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sometimes you really have to stretch to find who's stinking it up. But when you shoot 15% from three and 9% on open threes, you're really stinking it up. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Emirates Cup final last night. The Stinking It Up report is brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online at Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
No Dirt, no Sprague, not till Friday, and they are going to be giving you a mainline injection of college football on Friday morning, getting you ready for everything. We just had a moment to talk with Grayson Mann from TigerNet.com about Clemson. So we've kind of got that out of the way. I wanted to get your perspective on this, Mr. Swigard. I don't get a lot of confidence from Grayson. He said he picked SMU to win the ACC championship game, and he's picking Texas to win this game. He did not convince me.
No, they're still they're a flawed squad for certain.
Well, his 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I was waiting for the 1 step back. It feels like they've been getting better throughout the year, but it didn't sound like they are a complete project at all.
If they can, turnovers will be massive for them because I think they ride momentum affects them as much as any team, good or bad.
Yeah.
Like if they start getting rolled, it can get out of hand in a hurry. If they can get some turnovers and put a little pressure and quiet down the 105,000 out there in Austin, and get them clamoring for, if Ewers is throwing interceptions and you hear Arch Manning chants coming from the crowd and all that sort of thing.
Texas's own worst enemy is themselves.
And Sark, is starting to wonder what does he got to do. Then things get interesting. But the line continues to go up. I think it's at 12 now. It opened at 10.5. If the size of Texas is just overwhelming to Clemson in the trenches, then you might have an opportunity around 3 o'clock to run a couple of errands or, go for a walk before Tennessee, Ohio State kicks in.
Yeah, well, this is your 5-12 matchup, so this should be a lopsided matchup if they set it up right. It could go that way. The other interesting thing that he had, there's a moment in there where he goes, we would have rather have gone to Oregon, and I was thinking that was about to be a football argument. I think he wanted to see the atmosphere. At the end he said his pick to win the whole thing is the Oregon Ducks.
No, I think there's a lot.
But for a second there, I was like, oh, you wanted a piece of us.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing, but yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny moment. But it was good to get kind of the insight. I don't think like you said, not a complete team, but at least part of the coaching staff that's left has had plenty of experience in big games.
If they win the turnover margin, then this game will probably keep your interest. Throughout. If it's even or they're on the south side of it, then they're having a big old party there in Austin.
Well, if Texas rolls, and you're sitting there in an Arizona State viewing party, I think that's something that you're going to want to be a little concerned about. If nothing else, you want to see Clemson go out there and figure out where the holes are in the defense and get something going. And obviously, they're not going to go and lay over, but it's going to be a tough battle. That's for sure.
No question.
You look at the defense and the size of the defense for Texas. I think that's going to be an absolute gnarly one. And then that's the side of the bracket that you're looking at if you're a Duck, right? It's going, okay, we've got the winner of Arizona State and whomever, if we can get past Tennessee, Ohio State. So if you're sitting there looking at this game, it does have big implications. So I don't even know that you need Clemson to win to make your path easier. You just need to see that Texas isn't a juggernaut, and Georgia's done that. But that's Georgia. So
but that's where
watching that Georgia-Texas game, did you not just feel like NFL? A lot of dudes on there.
Well, Oregon's going to have a whole bunch of chips on their shoulders too after they announced the all AP teams.
Yeah.
Not one first teamer.
Ooh, do you have the list of that there that you can grab for me? But yeah,
I'll have to find it later in the show, but yeah, I think
your quarterback was third team. Harmon was
third team. Harmon was second team.
How is he not first team?
Connerly was third team, and I think that was it.
I thought there was one more. I felt like
Jordan James didn't appear anywhere on it. Tez Johnson. The only argument there was he was injured, so he didn't play.
Same with Jordan Birch, but still.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I bet that will be used as some fuel in the fire when you're the number one team in the country.
And you've got a couple third-team All-Americans.
And you don't have one first-teamer?
And Dylan Gabriel finished third in the Heisman.
Third in the Heisman.
And third team.
Yeah.
Who was first and second team? That'd be another thing to check.
Shador and Cam Ward were ahead of him, I believe.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily disagree with the Cam Ward part of it, but Shador, I don't know.
I would imagine that's getting talked up when that came out.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's much question about that. But this game will be played at 1:00. The Clemson Texas. We've already talked a little bit about the Indiana Notre Dame game, which is going to be exciting. The first game of the day is going to be that SMU, and that was the other thing that I found interesting was there was plenty of respect given to SMU by Clemson, and that was a game that if you add another 5 minutes onto the clock, SMU probably wins that game. But Clemson was underwhelming, but I think they gave all credit to SMU.
Again,
which
will
is
be
interesting.
will
Mobile
the size and power of Penn State overwhelm SMU?
Well, I think this is
over 60 minutes.
This is a fun part of this tournament because I think teams like Clemson and SMU, even with a deficiency in size and power, you give them one shot. Give them, 10 days to prepare.
Can SMU hit big plays?
Yeah. Well, and can Clemson same thing. Can you force turnovers and can you do that? So it's going out there and having, these opportunities. But that's the fun thing about this tournament, right? It was always like, well, sure, yeah. A team like Boise State can win one game in a tournament like this, or Cincinnati deserves a shot to try to win one game in a tournament like this, but they're not going to have the horses to continue on.
Yeah.
And
again, you're going to play on a cow pasture, and it's 27 degrees and snowing.
Man.
That does not help SMU.
Oh, it definitely does not help SMU, but at the same time, I know that Penn State is built for this, but Penn State, they don't play well in big games. Well, that's the James Franklin effect. Is he wins the games he's supposed to win, and I know very much you can call this a game you're supposed to win, but it also qualifies as a big game, and this is not a top 10 opponent because they're number 11.
Yeah, this line hasn't moved. It opened at 8.5, still at 8.5. So this game's not moving. There seems to be Penn State on paper is more talented and deeper than SMU. The weather will help them, but you're not getting a ton of money to say this is going to be a runaway.
Speaking of the Ducks being slighted, Dan Lanning not Coach of the Year. Kurt Cignetti, which is fine. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only perfect season in the Power Conference. And
Dan Lanning actually loves that, probably.
Oh, no, I'm sure that he does. But at the same time, some of the coaching moves, I mean, you look at that Ohio State game at the end and some of the riling up. Like, how many times have you watched the Ducks game and the biggest story the next day is what Dan Lanning was doing on the sideline, in the locker room, taking a time out to enjoy and watch the people filtering out. I mean, I know that Kurt Cignetti took a team and completely turned around, but Dan Lanning to not win that award, I think is another thing that you can look at if you're looking for chips on their shoulders. I know we're not going to do picks between you and I. I'm very confident that you'll do that on Friday. My only question for you is, in the 4 games, do you have any upsets? Have you not decided on the games?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's so he's considering maybe a couple upsets.
If there is an upset, I think it comes with Tennessee. I'm still shocked at how big that line is.
All right. Well, Friday you'll get all the picks from Swag and his usual partners in crime. But for now, we're going to move on to the NFL. Quarterbacks getting benched in multiple locations. Some teams throwing in the towel. Some teams trying to hold on what hope they have for the playoffs. We'll tell you who's getting benched and who's replacing them. We'll do that to start hour 3 of the Luke and Swag edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
HD2 Portland.
What happened to my weekend? Yeah, there was a lot of that.
1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's. The classic American steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tanasbourne, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan, Jake Dickert leaving the Washington State Cougars football program, taking the open job at Wake Forest University after taking the Cougs to 3 bowl games in his 4 seasons. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Bucks announcing that they have figured their stuff out, winning the NBA Emirates Cup in dominating fashion. 97-81. They hold the Thunder to just 31 points in the second half. Giannis Antetokounmpo named MVP of the Cup. A triple-double in the championship game, 26 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Damian Lillard chipping in with 23 points, including 5 threes. The Yankees, quick to fill the void in the lineup card left by Juan Soto going to the Mets. They acquire outfielder Cody Bellinger from the Cubs in exchange for right-handed pitcher Cody Poteet. Cubs also sending $5 million along to help offset Bellinger's remaining salary. The Atlanta Falcons announced Tuesday evening Kirk Cousins going to the bench. Rookie Michael Penix Jr. will get his first NFL start this Sunday against the Giants. Over on 910 ESPN Portland tonight, college hoops. The Portland Pilots hosting the Roadrunners of UC Bakersfield. 7 o'clock tip, pregame coverage at 6:30. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
I gotta catch a glimpse of these Warlocks. Let's make a move. She's going around the corner. Come on.
It's time for Dirt and Sprague.
True love is hard to find. Sometimes you think you have true love, and then you catch the early flight home from San Diego, and a couple of nude people jump out of your bathroom blindfolded.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
We should date. What? Date. I said we should date sometime, socially. Go out and kick it.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
You're pretty sick, chaps.
The Fan.
Hour 3. 9th hour that you and I have been talking over the last 3 days. One more show tomorrow with myself, Luke Anderson, and Jason Swigard. Dirt and Sprague back on Friday.
We'll preview the Vols tomorrow.
Yes, very excited to
Grant
preview the
Ramey
Vols.
from VolQuest.com. It's the On 3.
Speaking of a lot of NFL guys, it feels like they've got a fairly complete roster, just young. There's a lot of
their defense is
what-ifs.
dominant.
It is.
There will be defensive dudes going to the NFL. The
That's what I'm
offense
saying,
is young.
Yep, but still talent. I mean, the talent level. It's can they put it all together?
Prone at times.
Yeah. Well, and the risk reward of trying to keep it close and saving a chance for the end. Ohio State is happy to play Big Brother and tap on your forehead until you say uncle. So we'll see what happens in that game. But that one, very
if there's going to be an upset, I think it will be in terms of seeding.
Yeah.
I think it'll be that one.
Is there one that's not based on seeding that would be an upset? I mean, you got Indiana. Indiana, would that not be an upset if they beat Notre Dame?
They would.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think the seeding is accurate from where the upsets sit. But, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that line was a full touchdown. I don't perceive Ohio State being a touchdown better than Tennessee.
Well, I'm just absolutely amped for this weekend. Even if you and I differ on this. Even if they're all blowouts, I just love that there's 8 teams playing for a chance to advance. 4 more teams in waiting for that. And if the games get progressively better as it goes. Now, if we go through the whole 12-team tournament and there's not a single good game to be found, first of all, I'd be shocked. But second of all, it doesn't mean that this is not the best thing that college football has ever done. It's awesome.
Well, I think in order for... I mean, the one thing, if you just get... If the team, especially the non-SEC teams...
Mm-hmm.
get housed by SEC and Big Ten teams, it just gives them more credence to say we deserve more guaranteed spots.
Well, but
I'm not in favor of that. I don't want to see any particular conference all of a sudden get multiple guaranteed spots.
Yeah,
going in perpetuity. You still have to earn it every year.
There
are cycles, things change. And it's not to say that the ACC, if they invest more in it, if the Big 12 starts to come together with all of these teams and Utah can find a quarterback that won't fall apart every other game.
Amen to that.
You know, Kyle Whittingham's coming back, so maybe they can build some consistency. I don't want them. I don't want it to feel like a birthright. If they are as good as they say they are, and they're going to invest more, and they've got more money and more resources and more dedication, and it means more, then they will get 3 or 4 or 5 teams in every year. They won't have to guarantee it.
Well, SEC has 3, Big Ten has 4.
Right.
So, I mean, you've kind of got that.
The SEC's whining and bitching and moaning.
Well, yeah, but they can shut up. So what you're saying is you need a. I mean,
Clemson knocking off Texas would be fantastic.
That would be
for
great.
all of that.
Yeah. But you're not rooting for Notre Dame. Barf.
I don't know that I'm rooting for Indiana. That game I want to see a classic. I will be disappointed.
You wanted 3-3 tie in a snowstorm.
No. I hope they go up and down in the snow and it's all sorts of wild and craziness. That game needs to be great.
Yeah. Needs to be great.
That game needs to be great.
Yeah. Well, looking at these, I mean, it makes it difficult. 7 of the 12
it's
are
a
already
standalone game. It's Friday night. It kicks off the whole thing.
Be great.
That game needs to be great in some fashion.
All right. I'm with you. I hear you. I feel you. The NFL is getting close to wrapping things up. 3 games left.
Yeah, we can get a lot of playoff clarification this week.
Oh, when it starts tomorrow night. I mean, tomorrow night's a good one. Broncos, Chargers.
Yes.
Yeah, I can get subscribed to some of that.
The Broncos win, they clinch their playoff spot. If the Chargers win, then they need a few other things to happen to clinch the spot.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a lot tomorrow. Today, the big news, though, is quarterbacks getting benched.
Yes. Well, Will Levis getting benched, who cares?
I do. I mean, are they gonna put Mason Rudolph in a Mayo commercial?
Well, he still got those Mayo commercials, but quit throwing pick sixes.
Making that Mayo money. Oh, speaking of stop throwing pick sixes, Jameis Winston also out. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Mason Rudolph.
Well, Cleveland's ownership created their own problem when they gave the contract, and so who cares? Like
I do, because it's nice to see people get what they deserve. They got Joe Flacco last year, and they had all this hope, and he withered like a dying oak tree in the mighty Joe Flacco. That was the resurgence. Got to the playoffs and went, oh yeah, never mind. Which I absolutely loved. And then it even tricked Indianapolis into thinking it was a good idea this year, which, reaching for a guy with a bunch of talent in the first round also doesn't seem to be a very good recipe for success in Indianapolis. So people doing dumb things at the quarterback position tends to be. And then Malik Willis gets sent off to Green Bay, plays a couple games, looks great, and Will Levis looks terrible. So these do matter because, that's what you get, dorks.
I wonder if we will get.
Don't you feel that way about both those teams? Tennessee, you got what you deserve. Ryan Tannehill was perfectly fine. You had to move on, and then you lose Derrick Henry.
Got what they deserved, and Vrabel got a raw deal, and
all the things. Tennessee, that's what you get. Cleveland, that's what you get.
There's one maneuver that actually still could have impact on this season.
Well, yeah, because Cleveland, Tennessee, both eliminated.
They're done.
After a win on Monday night, first touchdown in 4 games, Kirk Cousins also threw a pick. Also managed to only get
It was only 11 of 17. They needed an interception on a Hail Mary to beat the 2-win Raiders.
They got 15 points against the 2-win Raiders. So
it's Michael Penix Jr. time.
It is, and this can go a lot of different ways. So right now, the Atlanta Falcons are 7-7. The Bucs control their own destiny. They have already played. Atlanta's already played their 2 games against Tampa Bay. So now you've got a stretch of 2 non-playoff teams, 2 teams that are eliminated: the Giants and the Panthers. The Panthers is a game to wrap it up. Sandwiched in between there, you are at the Commanders.
Sunday night game.
If there is room in the wild card ranking, that means you have to beat the Commanders. So what do you expect to see from Michael Penix Jr. when he comes out on Sunday? He's playing the Giants.
Yeah, they're playing the Giants, so I would expect them, one, to try to run Bijan Robinson a little bit more, take some pressure
Bijan
off
Robinson.
of him.
Come on.
And then if they do that, they can actually run play action with Penix.
Yeah.
They can't do it with Kirkers. I don't, one, it doesn't work very well in the pistol. I don't know why they're sticking with that. But if you line Penix up under center and get Bijan going, draw the linebackers up so you can actually run some play action. If Kyle Pitts is not salivating over the prospect of I can get somebody firing me darts 25 yards down the field, and he does not have one of his best games here in the last 3, then you might wonder if they're done with Kyle Pitts.
Well, you said it right there. They have weapons. It's just they need somebody to get them the ball. I mean, you moved on from Desmond Ridder for good reason. Marcus Mariota quit on the team. You had all of these things that have happened over the last couple of years, and that's, as far as I know, I'm trying to think if any other quarterbacks have thrown it to Kyle Pitts. But there is not a litany of great arms checking him the ball. The interesting decision that the Falcons made was paying a lot of money to Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
And then using the 7th overall pick on Michael Penix Jr., who felt like one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks coming out of college. So you've given him 14 games as an understudy. So, yes, the game plan, I agree with you. Go out there, run the ball, make it easy for your rookie quarterback. Right. But tell me this, is your expectation that Michael Penix looks like the best rookie, and it may be because he sat, but will it be one of those things where you're hearing why didn't we start this guy earlier? Or is it, that's why they got a different guy? What do you expect?
I don't think so. I think it will.
Because those are kind of the two options.
It will tend to be more, man, if he would have gotten some experience early on, I think they'll be pretty conservative with him. I don't think they're going to give him the whole, and against the Giants, you really shouldn't have to be. And I think the defense will be, hey, help him out, see if you can get us a turnover, some short fields. The Giants should give you one somewhere along the line. So do some things to rally around him, and that's kind of what you want to see the team do. Kirkers is a great teammate. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
He's fun. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He takes his job very seriously, but he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah.
So he'll be supportive of wanting to, help Penix go out there and not feel like the weight of the world is on his shoulders.
He's getting paid $90 million.
He's
to
good.
Help a guy.
So
I think he's all right.
No,
and
I think
$90 million after he's
will
benched.
Be. Boy, man, if we could have gotten Penix a little bit more seasoning experience.
Well,
he'll have some big plays. I think he'll have some big plays. I think he'll have a couple of ooh-ah moments.
He's got a big arm and he's got accuracy. I think it's going to be a good
He'll be
fit.
calm. He's not going to be overwhelmed by the situation.
Well, the other thing that I've always believed is that if you can give a guy a chance to go and learn from a veteran and learn how to do the right things, get the preparation stuff where you go out there and the weight of the world is not on your shoulders, you always have an advantage. The tricky part about this situation is you're putting in Michael Penix with all of those things in place, except the caveat of, you're our only chance to get to the playoffs. So is he ready for the pressure moment? Because he was pretty good in the first round of the college football playoff, but he was not great in the championship game. He had another moment. Was it the Oregon game where he was had his head covered? I'm trying to remember what game that was. Maybe it was the Apple Cup. It was the Apple Cup.
Beat Oregon twice.
I know he did, but it was the Apple Cup where he had his head down, but they won that game too. But it was just, he's an interesting guy, I guess is my point. So I'm curious to see.
If all the team can rally around him and say, hey, we're doing this together. Don't, coaching staff will say this is our decision. It's not, we just want him to go out and beat Michael Penix and whatever other cliches they come up with. But certainly should have the opportunity to make some big plays.
So here's the other question that this leads into is, what do you do with Kirk Cousins? Do you think there is value in the trade market? Do you just cut bait after June and pay him $40 million in dead cap money?
Bait.
Well, it'd be $40 million in dead cap this year, and I think it's $25 next year or something like that. You're still paying him, but if you trade him, you're probably paying him close to $35 million anyways.
No. So you're not,
If Michael Penix ends up being great the last 3 games, you do not need.
Well, I don't
Kirk
even
Cousins
think, even if he's great for 3 games, and maybe you get into a playoff game and he performs well, that's one thing. One, you can never have enough quality depth at quarterback on a roster because you never know when the big blindside hit's going to knock a dude out.
Yeah. But very much like the transfer portal. If you're Kirk Cousins,
not like Michael Penix doesn't have a history of injury in his background either.
Well, sure, but you have to understand the personalities involved too. Here is if you play well and you get the starting job, having a $90 million backup is one thing. And Kirk Cousins, does he want to be a backup at this stage in his career? And would he be willing?
He signed the contract. He's taking the money. He doesn't really have a choice.
Well, sure,
so he can retire.
Yeah, of course he can.
But
and then he lets the money go. But I guess my point is he could also try to force the hand of the team and just go, hey, I play or trade me or whatever he wants to do. He may not have that personality.
That's not been his nature.
But what's the benefit of keeping him as your backup? I think
truly it's injury, or if there's some sort of regression, or once you put some stuff on tape in the NFL with Penix and defensive coordinators have then all offseason to go figure things out. Because if he's not there, you assume you're going to have some sort. I don't see him moving him.
Yeah.
Based on what he's put on tape this year, what team in their right mind is going to go out and want to make a deal for that?
Well, I'll give you 5 teams.
So if you have all this dead cap, you're not going to have any money to go get somebody. What better backup would you have?
Well, I'll give you 5 teams that were listed in the USA Today article that I saw, which honestly most of these I'll dismiss. But they're throwing out teams like the Jets and Steelers, which I'm going to say no. But Cleveland Browns,
he would be backups
too much
in those
money.
situations.
Yep. But
Cleveland can't bring that contract on because even if they get out of Deshaun Watson, they got a huge cap hit.
There's 2 that have already been brought up this like Colts, Titans.
Titans need to start over completely. So I
burn
don't,
it to the ground.
I don't think that solves anything. They're not close to making the playoffs.
But the Colts, who have rolled out Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco, and seems like they feel like they're a quarterback away. Anthony Richardson, not sure he's the guy. But either way,
I think there'd have to be some real in-depth investigation. Did Kirkers is there some sort of injury issue, something nagging from before, or something that occurred that they didn't really disclose or didn't know about?
The final one, San Francisco 49ers. Instead of playing Brock Purdy, just bring in Kyle Shanahan's buddy from Washington days.
That would be more about Kyle Shanahan's last-ditch effort to hang on to his job.
I totally agree with that. But that's when desperate people
but
make
I don't
desperate
know.
moves.
I mean, with all the other salaries they got going on there, I don't know how they make it fit.
I don't know. Interesting dilemma. Hopefully Michael Penix looks great. I would certainly root for that. Make the playoff race interesting in the NFC South. A couple little golf stories I wanted to throw at you. I'm sure you're excited. 17-year-old making the PGA switch, or the pro golf switch.
Yeah, the next try on there.
And then PGA dominates Live Golf in Vegas. Couple dominating performances yesterday. We'll get to those next. You're listening to a Luke and Swag edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
No, I'm actually experimenting with a new brace. It's one that goes on the outside of the shoe, so it's just something that I've tried to rep with during practice, get a good feel for it, and go into the game with it.
That's Justin Herbert inventing a new brace, or just using something. I know.
Yeah. He's smart enough to invent his own, though.
He is, wasn't he?
He's going to be a doctor.
He was pre-med. So if anybody's going to do it, the great Justin Herbert there, getting ready for the playoff push. Thursday night football against the Broncos tomorrow night. This sports injury report is presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule your appointment with Dr. Feinblatt, visit rocpdx.com.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, ready for some trivia, Mr. Swigard? He's not. That is a resounding.
Sorry, I'm trying to do producer duties and co-host.
I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to podcast here.
I gotcha. Yeah. Hey, we got to get that podcast out. People are dying to listen to Hour 1 and 2 that missed it. After just that first segment here in the third hour, they are craving more of what we got. You ready for a trivia question now?
Fire away.
Can you tell me who made the first three-point shot in WNBA history?
Ooh, in WNBA history. Jennifer Azzi?
No.
Oh.
Do you remember the name Rhonda Blades Brown?
I do not.
Okay. The reason that she is in the news is her son, at 17 years old, is turning pro in golf. Blades Brown. So he's taken the name of the hyphenated name of his mom, and he's ready to go play some golf. So we've got a 17-year-old flipping to the tour next year, a junior in high school.
Yes.
What was your professional ambition as a junior in high school?
This.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
And then you went into accounting and then did this.
Yeah.
All right.
There wasn't, you still had to go to like journalism school and all that sort of stuff. And
I love how you rolled your head. I know you're talking about you, and I'm sitting here going, I just did a contest.
Yeah,
no. we didn't have to do that. But as a golf fan, what do you know about Blades Brown? You know anything about this kid?
I do not know much about it. I saw the story. He got a sponsor's exemption into the Myrtle Beach PGA tournament and finished well. And he's been a dominant amateur junior player. He's pulled off feats that only Tiger and Bobby Jones have, or something.
Bobby Clampett.
Bobby Clampett. Yes, the great Bobby Clampett.
There you go. I don't know much about Bobby Clampett.
Oh, Bobby Clampett. No, he was.
He's not Tiger Woods. I can tell you that.
Not Tiger Woods. So they're just in. I think now he went to Q school, didn't quite make it out of Q school, but he's going to have he's got several sponsors exemptions, going to try to play his way into qualifying status. We'll see if that earns him spots on the Korn Ferry Tour, but with as much money as there is out on tour now, education. You can get an education online, whatever you want to do, especially independent, if you're a golfer. So if he's got backing to figure out how to, handle the travel and being the biggest thing is, and why a lot of kids like to go to college is you're kind of a team. You still have some teammates, camaraderie. It is lonely out on tour, especially if you have to grind your way up. Going through the Korn Ferry Tour and some of the other stuff, you have to learn how to, maintain all the discipline that it takes to compete at that level week after week, and not let the loneliness, I think, quite frankly, get overwhelming.
Well, son of a former pro athlete, probably understands the grind part of it and all of that. Obviously has the talent for it. I'm sure it wasn't a decision made in haste, so it'll be just a name to keep an eye on.
And you hope it's his decision. We've seen more often. You see it with the women. Especially now, you're seeing Lexi Thompson retired age 29, Lydia Ko considering retirement. They were prodigies that came along at 14, 15 years old. With such tremendous game, and they're like, even though they're relatively young, as you and I might look at it, they've been doing that for 15, 20 years.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Well, and
funny. That tour's international, much more so than the PGA Tour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely a sport that you can rise quickly at a young age if you're hungry. And I mean, this is something that we see in the PGA Tour all the time. I mean, guys like, Rory won when he was young, and it certainly has a well-documented drought. Jordan Spieth came up and was going to be the next great. Justin Thomas followed in his footsteps. But staying at the top, I mean, that's a thing that even Tiger burnt out before he got to Jack's numbers, and he was otherworldly when he was at his height. So the other thing that's interesting is you have more and more opportunities to play professional golf. And yesterday, showdown in Las Vegas between four names that everybody will know. Rory and Scotty Scheffler take on Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. And boy, that was not close.
PGA versus Live showdown.
It certainly was, and a little revenge for Rory going back at Bryson for stealing his U.S. Open. And there you have a absolute beatdown in the desert. How do you feel about these match play events? Is this something that you can get into? Because I've gotten 0 minutes of live golf watching. I'm happy to put on a PGA event on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and I'll watch pretty much any of them. But
the staged stuff, these one-off things, it depends on if, I was all into the Emirates Cup last night, and, that actually... So if nothing's going on, they used to do the skins game, and it's coming back.
Okay.
That's always fun, especially if they're mic'd up. If you can get, 4 guys out there or however many they want to do, and there's a little friendly chatter and they're sticking it to one another, that's entertaining and fun. Plus, with it's a skins, they're trying to make shots. They're going for it, and that's always exciting there.
And then watching non-pro golfers, you get the quarterbacks going against each other and all that.
Depends on if they can play or not.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough. But even seeing guys that miss shots, I mean, one of my favorite things about pro golf is when a guy misses a 3 or 4 foot putt, and I go, I could do that.
Yeah.
So there's elements of that, but watching pro athletes go out there. So, I didn't know how gimmicky you go when you travel your golf. You did say when you get your Winnebago, your following golf tours.
It would be, I would love to be out there, because when you're out there, you get a lot closer access. You can get like right on the practice range and see kind of how they go through their warm up and what they're focused on. And I think for people that play a lot of golf, want to try to get better, what is it how do they focus? What are they more concerned with? About their games and preparation and practice on the putting green, in the practice bunker, short game area, that sort of stuff, rather than just, whacking balls up.
That would be a good job shadow. If you could just spend a week in the life, a month in the life with a pro golfer, that would be very interesting. I mean, you mentioned it, this kid Blades Brown is 17 years old. He's going to go on the pro tour. One of the criticisms about, the NBA is how difficult it is for some of these young players who have the talent to go and fit in with the culture. But there's a whole thing, and I know it's very different than back in the day where it was kind of a traveling gong show with the PGA Tour, where it was just a bunch of alphas going into a town and kind of running roughshod over the thing.
But no,
there is still an
Tiger
element of
brought fitness and routine and treating it like our other sports, where you have to maintain your body, nutrition, diet, sleep, all of that sort of stuff. Then Mother Nature throws a monkey wrench when you get weather somewhere and rain and your tee time's adjusted, and are you playing today? No, I got.
And you get arrested right before the tournament starts.
27 holes tomorrow. You have to go play in a pro-am on Tuesday or Wednesday. Your golf clubs, if you're not, of status to flying on private jets, and you have to fly commercial, and now your golf clubs got lost.
Yeah.
That happens to the LPGA more often than the PGA for some reason.
They lose a
or if you
ladies'
fly
bag,
internationally, a lot of
Yeah,
times
that's
that'll
true.
happen. And so, I'm over here. Where'd my clubs go?
Yeah, well, let's get the Hard Knocks edition of golf. I guess they've got
It's called
plenty-
Full Swing.
There you go. Full swings. Them trying to get to the tour, though.
Oh,
I want to see what the pros do. I want to
see if they did that with the Corn Ferry guys, and I don't know why they don't, because
Yeah,
that's
if you could do it with
something
PGA
that the
guys, too.
PGA Tour has done a poor job of.
Yeah.
Is building up the brand so that when they get to the PGA, they already have a bit of a following and something about them.
Yeah. All right. So 2004 2005, the amount of days that pitchers missed on the injured list in Major League Baseball was 13,666.
I think half of them were the Dodgers pitching staff.
In 2005. In 2024, pitchers missed 32,257 days in 485 stints, well more than double the number of days missing, well more than double the number of stints missing. There is an extensive report that was just released by an investigation into Major League Baseball and their pitching injuries. So we will talk about that after this SportsCenter update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course is always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today. Get all the latest news and specials. First on The Fan, Washington State needs a new head football coach, as first reported by The Athletic this morning. Wake Forest is in the process of finalizing a contract to bring Jake Dickert from Pullman to Winston-Salem. He took the Cougs to 3 bowl games in his 4 seasons up on the Palouse. Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA Emirates Cup champions. They're doing it with defense. They hold the Thunder to just 31 points in the second half for a 97-81 victory. Giannis Antetokounmpo named MVP of the Cup with a triple-double, 26 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Damian Lillard chipping in with 23 points. Yankees filling the void in their lineup card when Juan Soto took the money from the Mets. They acquire outfielder Cody Bellinger from the Cubs, plus $5 million in cash in exchange for right-handed pitcher Cody Poteet. The Atlanta Falcons have had enough of Kirkers throwing picks. They announced Tuesday evening that Michael Penix Jr., the rookie from Washington, will get his first NFL start this Sunday against the Giants. Wayne Tinkle's Oregon State basketball team, well, they mopped up the Gilt Coliseum floor with the Hornets of Sacramento State Tuesday night, cruising to an 82-45 victory. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's the
I got a bad disease.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
It is Dirt and Sprague, but I am Luke Anderson. Dirt and Sprague absent. It will reflect on their attendance record, but they'll be back on Friday. They've had an excused absence.
Yeah, these are
so it's all good.
Absences.
Yeah, but listen, it still goes on their record. We've got Jason Swigard still holding down the fort. My companion here for 3 of the 4 days. Tomorrow will be the final show between us, and then I get to do the final show before the college football playoff kicks off. Buck and I will be doing
we'll see if you get somebody
short edition of primetime.
From Notre Dame, maybe from Bloomington.
Oh yeah,
you can do a little IU Notre Dame.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, I've got Ryan Buckley with me. He will be mainlining college football at that point. Just keeping him calm for an hour and a half so that we can get coherent sentences out will be my goal. He's pumped. And then we clear out all the space and just let him explore it and get you know what we do. Yesterday, though, in baseball news, they released a report. And when I say they, I mean the commissioner's office.
Yes.
This is a 60-page report that was commissioned after the 2023 season. It includes interviews by more than 200 pitchers, coaches, executive trainers, and orthopedic surgeons trying to figure out what's going on with all of the arm injuries. So in 2005, where the report starts, you have 212 stints on the injured list and more than 13,000 days for pitchers. In 2024, that bumped up to 485 stints for more than 32,000 days, 497 and 98 in 2023 and 22 respectively. So there has been a huge jump in arm injuries. Now, the underlying cause seems pretty obvious, right? You watch Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you look at this on the surface and you read the report and you go, duh.
Sure. Guys are throwing harder. Their injuries are getting more. But as you dig into this, trying to figure out why is not quite as interesting as figuring out what you do about it. But some of the whys are a little bit interesting. So if you look at just the timing of these injuries and when they're happening, it is not a season-long increase in injuries. As you go along the season, the injuries increase. It's overwhelmingly that the injuries are happening right at the start of the season. When you show up to spring training, when the season is just getting started, so at the end of March, the end of February, early March is when the majority are happening, and that is spring training time. And then there's a larger number in April. Then it actually goes down all the way to July, a little bit of a pickup in August, and then drops off the face of the earth as you get into September and October. So basically, the cause of this tends to be not just the strain that you have on your arm during the season. More so, they're thinking that it's the off-season training that is independent from the team. And it's guys going out and trying to add more velocity in the off-season, which, unlike some other sports where adding a vertical leap in the NBA or adding speed in the NFL, those are not things that you can necessarily physically manifest. But in Major League Baseball, if you want to throw the ball harder, there are a lot of ways to do it. And one of the main culprits that they pointed out might be weighted balls and just going out there and throwing the heavy balls and putting strain on the arms, because you can build up all the muscles. And one of the specific problems is elbow injuries. And you've got a tiny little ligament that no matter how big your arm gets, that ligament ain't getting any bigger.
Well, and the other piece of that was just how much the training for pitchers has changed to, especially starting pitchers, to being, it doesn't matter how long you go. They talked about there's very little endurance training, aerobic training, and that sort of thing, where pitchers, it used to be, how do I get to the 8th inning? How do I get 21, 24, 27 outs? Now it is, okay, how fast can I throw it and then, hard? How devastating a break can I put on, how much spin rate can I get? And I'll just and how long can I go for maintaining that? If it's 4 innings or 5 innings, that's all anybody cares about.
Well, it's fewer pitches, more effort per pitch. The other thing,
I don't know that it's necessarily fewer pitches.
Well, that's part of it. One of the contrarian things in the report,
Greg Maddux had complete game shutouts with 88 pitches. Because he pitched to contact. He wasn't trying to blow it by guys.
I understand that. But one of the things that some of the orthopedists that were interviewed in here say that one of the common sense solutions is putting young pitchers that throw hard or pitchers returning from injury, putting them on a pitch count might be counterintuitive. Because not only do they not do the endurance training, but then when you're actively limiting the number of pitches they throw and asking them to throw as hard as they can on every single pitch, that's where it really gets difficult. So having a 95-mile-an-hour fastball with 20 inches of movement on a sweeper is going to be very impactful when you're trying to stop guys from getting base hits. But going out there and putting that extra strain on your arm and doing it fewer times is actually going to build less endurance. So there is an element of that. And where it really gets interesting, because again, all of this seems very duh. That's one that's a little bit counterintuitive. Yeah. But then when you talk to guys like Ron Darling, who pitched for 13 years, was never on the injury list, they're like, well, what would you do? Or what did you do that kept you that way? And he goes, well, it's a different game. For the guys on the edges of Major League Baseball contracts, for the guys on the edges of scholarship offers, for the kids on the edges of making their high school team or getting into a premier travel team, it comes down to velocity. And nobody is looking for somebody that can go out there and log a bunch of innings. They want to see the high velocity, and the increase in high school pitchers that are hitting 95 miles an hour is enormous. So what it really means is trying to unravel all of this and figure out where the source is. This is not a Major League Baseball problem.
No, this is a institutional, how do we evaluate, train, and what is valuable for pitchers.
Absolutely.
You're not going to see any Tim Wakefields or Jamie Moyers if this keeps up.
Yeah, and some of the suggestions to try to change things seem just absolutely out there. One that you kind of think about for a second is the only one that I considered out of the list is tying the DH to your pitcher, where if you pull your starting pitcher, you lose your DH for the rest of the game. But inevitably, that's just going to lead to more problems because that means you're not doing well if you're pulling your starting pitcher, and then you eliminate the ability to catch up. So it just makes things. So any solution that was thrown out there feels like it just exacerbates the problem.
Yeah.
So this is a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, you're not fixing it with a rule change. You're not fixing it by saying, okay, your starting pitcher has to go 5 innings unless you're down, 7 runs or something like that. Yeah. You can't manufacture a quick solution to this.
Well, and then the other elements that you're seeing too is pitchers are getting paid less in big contracts. They're getting drafted further down the list, so they are becoming more of a disposable commodity. So I don't think that this is necessarily the peak of what we're going to see. This problem, I would expect, is going to continue to get worse, but it's certainly interesting to read through this report. So if you love baseball and you're so on the direction that the game is going with more strikeouts, swinging for home runs, everybody throws 95 miles an hour. It's an interesting read, so grab yourself a copy of this report and kind of dig in. But I found myself just kind of fascinated by it. But I don't think we have enough time or maybe enough interest to go as deep as I would like to on this. So what we'll do is
we'll have to join Hot Corner at some point.
Hey, you know what? Actually, that would be a very good call. Are they on Tuesdays still?
Yeah, they were on last night.
Did they have this report in their hands?
I don't know. I was cup checking, so.
That's a fair point. I was redoing my Christmas decorations like I lamented earlier. We will stick with baseball, but we will go a little bit less in depth with a story that Jason Swigart does not think would be awkward, but I think has potential to be. We'll wrap the show up with the new Yankees teammates, and we'll put a bow on the show. We'll do it next. Luke and Swag filling in for Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for To The House, the scoring plays that make football special. Brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
Memphis gets the football back. First 5 minutes of the second, they're up 10-0, and they give it to Greg DeRosier. Hits the seam. DeRosier gone for a touchdown.
That is Mike Monaco on ESPN broadcasting the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl last night. catch the fever, and ended up being some drama late in this game. Is it a slide? Is it a fumble? Well, it turns out it was a slide, and the drama went away a little bit at the end, but a great bowl action for a Tuesday in December.
Get 2 more bowl games tonight.
Yes, we do. We spent that much time talking about them for a good reason. This To The House report is brought to you by SmartLine Home Design, a trusted local architect design studio ready to help bring your dream home to life. Visit smartlinehomedesign.com.
On 1080, The Fan.
Yankees were not able to retain Juan Soto, so now they have a talent void that they need to fill. One of those players.
Give him a suite.
I'm sorry, what?
They wouldn't give him a suite.
Well, one of the players they're using to fill that talent void is Cubs first baseman outfielder Cody Bellinger.
Yes.
Has been traded and now is a New York Yankee. Traveling with him to the Big Apple will be his wife and his children, as you would expect.
Yeah.
But could be a little bit awkward that his current wife, mother of his children, used to date Giancarlo Stanton.
Okay.
Now, that was a big exhale, my friend.
So when we say date, to what degree, how long, were there any kids between the two of them?
No, not that
I
know of.
Okay, then, this is not that big a deal.
Not that big of a deal?
Nah.
Yeah, but you know what? If there's any little beef being able to throw the jabs in there, I don't know Giancarlo's personality very well.
I think he's.
But
not
if he wants to poke,
that doesn't seem to be his personality to me,
Yeah.
nor is it Cody's. So I just think there won't be much discussion of it.
Oh,
I mean, if Cody's married, they have kids, everything's fine and dandy there.
doesn't concern you.
I think this is a far more common occurrence amongst, especially, date and somebody is around major leaguers and whatever the case, and one doesn't work.
So you get your big play-by-play opportunity, right? Like somebody hears your pilot's call and goes, "Hey, Jason,
okay,
we just think you're the bee's knees, my friend.
Yes.
And we've got an opportunity. The Seattle franchise is coming back to the NBA, and we need a man to call those games. You take the job. You go up there.
Okay.
And the first guy that you see when you walk in the room is your wife's ex. Hey, buddy, good to see you.
I'm just moving on doing my job. I don't think it's a big deal.
Head down.
I don't make a big deal.
He's
out
your
of it.
producer. He's in your ear every time. And then you make a bad call. Oh, that's why.
Nah.
Yeah?
I'm not. No, I'm not getting wrapped
No
up in
potential for it to be awkward.
Oh, there's potential, but I don't think this. It's not like an ex-wife and there's former kids, and that's a whole now that's a whole thing. But if they just dated for a while and it was nothing significant out of it, then I'm not.
Was it the New York Yankees that had the wife swap?
I have no idea.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, see,
I don't get caught up in this. I hate the gossip aspect of it. Ask Dirt and Sprague. I'm about games, action, results. I could care less about any of their personal lives, quite frankly.
So the strangest trade in baseball history occurred on March 4th, 1973, when New York Yankees pitcher Mike Ketchik and Fritz Peterson held separate news conferences during spring trading to announce that they had traded wives.
Okay.
That's nothing for you?
No.
Come on, get into it's a perfect spot for it right here in the final segment.
No, no.
All right, we'll talk Tennessee football tomorrow. We've got a Thursday night football game.
Yeah, we got a preview Chargers Broncos, big one in the AFC West.
Broncos win and they're in. Chargers need to win and help to continue their quest for it.
Will we break down the start of a Pilot's winning streak? I don't know.
Well, didn't they win on Monday?
Well, yeah, so it would be the start of a streak with 2
games.
I
guess it's not a streak until you have 2.
Yes.
Let's go. And then they're inevitable
it's the
march.
Teddy Bear Toss tonight. Come out. You're not doing anything important.
At the Childs Center?
Childs Center, taking on Bakersfield, but more importantly, Teddy Bear Toss at halftime, so we need to spread a little good cheer.
There you go. Well, do it for the kids, ladies and gentlemen. Get out there and do it. All right, one more show with us. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow. Thank you, Jason, as always. I appreciate you having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Colin will be next. And for now, we are done. Bye-bye.